at Lambeau Field. Friday, partly sunny, highs in the upper 60s in Milwaukee, around 70 in Madison. Tonight, mostly cloudy, lows in the mid-50s. Saturday, partly sunny, highs near 70. Sunday, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 60s. For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Keith Gostad.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, happy Friday, TGIF.
Oh, no doubt. Crudy, happy Friday to you, my dear friend. So many ways to go, but I think we need to mix it up a little bit today, man. We start so often.
We tossing salads around here? What are you talking about exactly?
We talk so often. It's Trump. It's the Trump train. It's the Trumpster fire. The dumpster fire that is the Trump presidency. But maybe we should harken back to, I don't know, a former president, perhaps.
Are we talking W? I started a war.
Maybe not that far back, Crudy. Obama was out today.
Not too hot, not too cold, just right.
Did someone break the glass?
No drama, Obama?
In emergency, break glass, and here comes former President Barack Obama.
And he gave a little speech. Champaign-Urbana down south in the flatlands, Dom?
Oh, nearby. I wasn't sure where he was today.
Champaign.
Oh, he was? Okay.
Urbana, technically. But, they're adjacent. Champaign-Urbana, University of Illinois, right?
Oh, okay. No, I don't know. I'll trust your wisdom on this, Crudy. The Flatlanders.
Oh, you are right to do so. Former President Obama ripped President Trump on the economy and a laundry list of other issues during a fiery address on Friday. Now, I watched parts, Tom. Wouldn't have described it as fiery. I mean, Obama, that man can speak. But I didn't see it as like fiery, soaring rhetoric sort of speech. But there are a few prime examples of things he said, talking about former President Barack Obama, about current, not my president, Donald Trump. The former president taunted Trump and the Republicans for offering tax cuts to wealthy Americans while neglecting the impact that the reduced duties would have on the nation's deficit.
Deficit spending?
I think they are deficits.
Deficits don't matter. Come
Yeah.
on. You know how the Republicans think.
Now, I'm trying to also see if we've got some of these moments from this fine speech. I think we got to play some of the sound, and maybe we can work this Hill article in around it, sort of backfill.
Let's remind ourselves how presidents used to speak. The good old days, like 2 years ago.
It hasn't even been 2 years.
It seems so very long ago.
It does. What crazy e-bike Lenny say to me yesterday? It's been like a decade this guy's been president. Let's start her off. Let's start from the top. President Barack Obama in the flatland earlier today, just south of us. Let's start with cut 92.
I'm here today because this is one of those pivotal moments when every one of us, as citizens of the United States, need to determine just who it is that we are, just what it is that we stand for.
You know what we are? We're a bunch of non-voting citizens in this country. That's what we are.
Well, Dom, now the stakes are just a little higher. Cut 93.
Just a glance at recent headlines should tell you that this moment really is different. The stakes really are higher.
And I don't think we mean the Trump stakes, right?
Those very high quality. You know, when it says Trump, that means high quality.
Grade A. Kind of like his presidency. Grade A plus.
Fantastic. We're doing fantastic, as you would call it, Crudy, a finely tuned machine.
Well, what? Those words have hardly ever left my mouth. Barack Obama, one solution, right? Vote. Cut 94.
As a fellow citizen, not as an ex-president, but as a fellow citizen, I'm here to deliver a simple message, and that is that you need to vote because our democracy depends on it.
Amen, brother.
I think Democrats forgot how to vote, Dom. Let's keep going.
Its central organizing principle in foreign policy was the fight against communism, and now they're cozying up to the former head of the KGB.
I think he's talking about the Republicans, Dom. What happened to the grand old party? Cut 96.
They're undermining our alliances, cozying up to Russia. What happened to the Republican Party?
More Barack Obama from Illinois. Cut 97.
More often, it's manufactured by the powerful and the privileged who want to keep us divided and keep us angry and keep us cynical because that helps them maintain the status quo and keep their power.
My only fear with Barack Obama out speaking today is Donald Trump will use this as an excuse to gin up his base, right?
I mean, come
hey,
on.
you racist!
They don't need an excuse.
You
Trudy.
see, they
he's
let
out
the-
there every day. He was in Montana yesterday. I mean, they're ready for the fight, Crudy. But here's my observation: 6 cuts of the former president, and I haven't heard him call anybody a name yet. You know what kind of president is that? Be strong, Obama. Say, Lion Ted Cruz, right? Little Marco. Let's hear some insults. That's how presidents act nowadays.
Evil losers.
Right. Thank you, Brian. Bring me home, baby. Don't let me, go back in the past too much, because this is just way too civil.
Yeah, you're right, little Dom.
Fat Crudy.
Let's keep going. Donald Trump effectively capitalizing on resentments. I hate you, little Dom.
He's just capitalizing on resentments that politicians have been fanning for years. A fear and anger that's rooted in our past, but it's also born out of the enormous upheavals that have taken place in your brief lifetimes.
Brief lifetimes. Now we get to the numbers. Jobs reports today, I believe about 201,000 jobs created last month. Here is former President Barack Obama talking about the economic recovery, and then we'll go into the jobs numbers, Brian.
When you hear how great the economy is doing right now, let's just remember when this recovery started.
Trying to steal Trump's credit.
Yeah. Let's keep going. This has been unprecedented growth here. We haven't had a recession in quite some time. Let's continue on. Obama on the jobs.
When the job numbers come out, monthly job numbers, and suddenly Republicans are saying it's a miracle. I have to kind of remind them, actually, those job numbers are the same as they were in 2015. In 2016, and anyway.
Yes.
72 months of private sector job growth, I believe, under Obama. Longest unbroken string of private sector job growth in America's history. And then Trump became president.
So Trump came into
the Trump
a whole
miracle.
different scene economically than certainly President Barack Obama did, right?
Do you remember when Barack Obama used to describe the good old days, when George W. was at the helm and he put the economy in the ditch, and then Barack Obama was elected president, and then the Republicans turned around and said, Hurry up and get us out of the ditch. What's wrong with you?
Right. And of course, President Barack Obama, the Democrats, we as a nation had to deal with that great recession. But then fast forward 8 years, and Trump comes rolling in. And things are already going very well. And what does Trump do? Well, he continues on and cuts taxes and increases the deficit. Now, when it was Obama, it was, hell, we had to spend government money to make an impact, to change the trajectory, to make it perhaps not a depression and keep it as a recession. And that was winning. Of course, as we talked about yesterday, Crudy, no one on Wall Street who helped precipitate this issue went to jail. So we end up, relying on government to bail us out. And Republicans are all up in arms about deficit spending. And when they get in power, what do? Well, the economy's doing a whole lot better now. Technically,
they blow up the deficit
this
spending.
Is when they should be, filling the coffers when things are going well.
Dom, they don't even pretend to balance the budget.
No, it is.
I mean,
it's entirely a joke.
Like a decade from now, we'll find a way to balance the budget in the best times America's had.
If you can't do it now, they're never going to do it. And it was only done
they never intended to lower the debt.
Under Bill Clinton is the only time we had a balanced budget.
It's the only time we've reduced the debt in my lifetime that I recall.
Yep.
Barack Obama reduced the deficit. Donald Trump's blowing it up.
And these are in good times.
Like all
We're not
good
losing
Republicans do.
800,000 jobs a month right now to justify the enormity of the money that we are spending and then, of course, borrowing. Because when you reduce taxes for the very rich to the tune of $1.5 trillion, it's not like government's getting reduced. Things still happen. What are we doing? Well, we go and borrow the money through bonds.
You know what I'm thinking right now?
What?
Too much Dominic, not enough Obama. Let's move down the topic of the week, I'd say, on this show, all around D.C., all around the nation. The op-ed, the anonymous op-ed. I mean, Donald Trump today calling the Attorney General to go investigate the op-ed. I believe Obama did comment on it today, but he didn't see this anonymous op-ed as any sort of service to the country. At least that's what the notes tell me. Cut 101.
They're not doing us a service by actively promoting 90% of the crazy stuff that's coming out of this White House and then saying, don't worry, we're preventing the other 10%. That's not how things are supposed to work.
And let's do one more regarding the New York Times op-ed written anonymously by a senior Trump official. Let's go investigate.
The claim that everything will turn out okay because there are people inside the White House who secretly aren't following the president's orders. Right. That is not a check. I'm being serious here. That's not how our democracy is supposed to work.
Wow. There's a piece, Crudy, perhaps we'll get to it soon. Anonymous is another word for complicit. I'm with Barack Obama here. While, certainly we kind of appreciate, trying, limiting the damage. What is the real action that should be taken by those who are concerned about the fitness of this president? There are lots and lots of Trump supporters out there that don't believe it. They believe Trump, but perhaps when some Republicans they respect stand up and say the same things that other progressives and liberals and Democrats are saying, maybe, just maybe, it'll start to sink in.
Dominic, when I was but a wee boy, I used to worry that my mom would overspend. So I used to put a check on her spending by stealing all of the quarters out of her purse and playing Donkey Kong. And the good news was it was an effective check. She never had an excess of quarters to worry her with. Know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. I hope you all know what I'm saying. We got a fine show today, including Tom Palzewicz. He is a Democratic candidate, Wisconsin's 5th CD. He joins us live on Brady in the Happy Hour. But time for you next. Phone lines open, 844-967-2789.
What's been going on while I've been gone?
Fool me once, shame on them.
Evil losers.
You fool me, we can't get fooled again.
An anonymous, really an anonymous So if you see somebody getting ready to throw a tomato, knock the crap out of them, would you? Seriously.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Hi, this is Dimi, pharmacist at Hyatt, locally owned pharmacy in the community of Milwaukee. Simplifying lives, one prescription at a time is our goal. Do free delivery of your medications to your home and at work. All your meds are brought together in one convenient dosage package individualized to your medication needs. We set up a house call with a licensed pharmacist to assist with medication management. We accept all insurance plans. To learn more about Hyatt, visit our website, HAYATRX.com.
So, Jesse, why should someone buying a home pay for an agent when they can go online or call the number on a for sale sign?
Great questions. First of all, never call the number on a sign to see a home. That's the seller's agent, and they don't represent your interests. If they show you a home outside of an open house, you forfeit your ability to have someone negotiate in your corner at no cost to you.
Well, with interest rates still at historic lows, how can buyers still get a great deal and protect their rights?
Step 1, find a buyer's agent that you trust. Your agent will best find the home that fits your needs, anticipate problems, and negotiate on your behalf from offer through closing day. And most home listing contracts stipulate that the seller's agent pays for the buyer's commission.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, they're honest. Whether buying or selling in Madison or Dane County, call Solidarity Realty, 608-284-9311, or find them at solidarityrealty.com.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, live on Real Resistance Radio, streaming on the Devil's Advocates YouTube and Facebook pages. You can always hit us up on the Twitter line at Devil Radio, and of course the party line, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we're going to get to the phones in just a minute. But first, before we talk more about President Obama and his speech today, I want to get Trump's reaction. You know, Donald Trump's already had something to say about the speechifying of Barack Obama. Here's what he said. I'm sorry. I watched it, but I fell asleep. I found he's very good. Very good for sleeping. Trump said during a fundraiser in Fargo, North Dakota. He was trying to take credit for this incredible thing that's happening in our country. Trump said, accusing Obama of presiding over the weakest recovery in the history of our country since the Great Depression. During remarks at the University of Illinois, Obama condemned Trump and called on Americans to vote against Republicans in the November midterm elections. Obama said America is not normal under Trump and accused the president of fueling racial divisions while undermining democratic principles. He's a symptom, not the cause, Obama said of Trump. He's just he's just capitalizing on resentments politicians have been fanning for years. The former president also defended his record against the near constant attacks from Trump. Let's just remember when this recovery started. I think we just played that sound. I have to kind of remind them those jobs numbers are kind of the same as they were in 2015 and 2016. 844-967-2789. Dom, I'm wearing my well-worn,
very well-worn
Dumb Trump t-shirt. And we got some Resist Trump bumper stickers. And I understand Mary on the east side's hoping to get her hands on some bumper stickers. Mary, welcome to the Devil's Advocates. You coming down for some bumper stickers, sister?
You betcha. I'm on my way.
Doors open. You got any comments to make, Mary?
Certainly.
What's the occasion? Why are you giving out some bumper stickers today?
Well, tomorrow I'm going to go listen or watch the Capitol Steps, which are a performance group who've been around for 39 years out of D.C., and they're going to be at the Pabst Theater tomorrow night. I'm taking my older brother, who, by the way, used to work for the Justice Department as an attorney. And he's more pro-Republican than any of us Dems would like in our family, but we love him. And I'm taking him to do some laughing at what's been going on. Because if you don't laugh about what goes on, you're just going to have tears. And I am an escapee from the East Side in the sense that I went to UWM in the 70s, early 70s. As a college student, I went through the devastation of Watergate. And to be now in my late 60s and going through it again is really something I just can't even explain how it feels to people of our era who watch our country crumble in front of our own eyes. And the Kavanaugh hearings are a travesty. The fix is in. I keep waiting for some national newspaper to say those words. The fix is in, because Kavanaugh clearly is an aberration. And to see someone 20, 30 years my junior that far right in their thinking, and beyond that, who's on the television under scrutiny and under the recommendation that he should tell the truth, is clearly lying to the public. We can't hold this man up as someone who should be our Supreme Court justice for the rest of his life.
Mary, let me tie those two themes together just for a moment. Under Judge, I'm going to quote John Dean. You remember John Dean? Whitewater. John Dean, Watergate. And John Dean, of course, had a very important role in a prior Senate hearing. But here is what he testified to earlier today. Quick quote. Under Judge Kavanaugh's recommendation, if a president shot someone in cold blood on Fifth Avenue, the president could not be prosecuted while in office, Dean told senators on Friday afternoon, a reference to Trump's oft-repeated campaign line that he could take such a step and not lose support. One more. He had elaborated on his prepared testimony to the committee, in which he said, "There is much to fear from an unchecked president who is inclined to abuse his powers. That is a fact I can attest to from personal experience." Mary, the bumper stickers, they're at 1224 East Brady. Any of you can come down and get some free Resist Trump bumper stickers. The t-shirt, you'd have to pay me big bucks to get this one. I'm not giving up the t-shirt. You'd have to tear it off my cold,
yeah,
dead
come on.
body.
Give him a $5 tip. He'll take off that shirt for you.
Well, I might do that just for some beads. 844-967-2789. It's Friday. We air grievances. You are welcome to air yours here. We'll get back to the phones after this short break.
But I'm the decider, and I decide what is best.
The one thing we know, and they do say, anybody that runs against Trump suffers.
The American dream is dead.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Josh Call, the candidate for Wisconsin Attorney General.
Do you think voter ID had a suppressive effect, not on 100 voters, but on thousands of voters, and perhaps tipped the election to Donald Trump?
This is an issue that came up at our trial. And first of all, I should thank you guys, because we actually introduced into evidence the recording of you interviewing Dale Schultz, who was talking about the passage of the voter ID law. That was one of our pieces of evidence.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Hi, everybody. If Scott Walker were made of cheese, would you eat him? I don't know, and I don't want to find out. That's why I listen to Real Resistance Radio.
The Packing House, open every day of the year for dinner, including all holidays. Family owned and operated since 1974, lunch Monday through Friday, live music Wednesday through Saturday. Enjoy steaks, ribs, seafood, fish fries, and prime rib. Easy access from anywhere, across from the airport on Layton. Find us online, packinghouse.mke.com or give us a call, 414-483-5054.
Ever worry that the anonymous millionaires are setting the agenda for our community with little or no accountability? I do. That's why I joined Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. My fellow members and I want to build a powerful and lasting progressive movement. Together, we can help determine the agenda in our own communities. Then we work with professional organizers and a team of leading strategists to make that agenda happen. We're working on health care, economic justice, child poverty, electing progressive candidates, and more. And our Radio Active campaign supports this station and the Resistance Radio Network. So, won't you come help us build a movement?
Become a member of the Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. Go to citizenactionwy.org.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gosted. We may be past Labor Day, but there is still plenty to do this weekend in southeastern Wisconsin. Indian Summer Festival is at Meyer Festival Park today through Sunday. Tosa Fest is happening in Wauwatosa tonight and tomorrow. The Third Ward Art Festival takes place Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 5. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar will be discussing his life in a multimedia conversation called Becoming Kareem tonight at the Marcus Center for the Performing Arts. The Milwaukee County Zoo is hosting their annual Ride on the Wild Side Sunday to raise money for the Zoological Society of Milwaukee. And Dead Man's Carnival tonight at the Miramar Theater. And also this Saturday is the second annual Milwaukee Polka Ride being held under the Polish Moon at Sabbatic. The free event features alternative polka acts from around the country and runs from 4 to midnight. For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gosted.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We air grievances. It's Friday. You can call us, but you can't be anonymous. Got to give your real name, or at least make one up.
We have caller ID. It doesn't matter anyway.
Don will booty call you late at night and find out if you've given him the real name. Let's see, Pete, you could be the lucky winner.
What are you doing, Pete?
Pete from Milwaukee, welcome to the Devil's Advocates. How you doing?
Thank you. Nice to be on. Well, you can count on Republicans for certain things, like taking away your health care, taking away your Social Security, trying to detain and steal kids from their parents at the border, and not doing anything about Trump. Those are the kind of things that you can definitely count on them to do. That's it.
Have you heard any Republicans comment on the anonymous op-ed that came out of the White House, supposedly published in the New York Times? I mean, have you heard any comments from the Paul Ryans, the Mitch McConnells, the leadership of the Republican Party?
Nothing really substantial, but I just heard that it might have been Kellyanne Conway. I don't know. I have no idea. But I think it's a woman or a man who just goes in and out of these rooms, puts papers down, and takes things, and they're all over the place, and they hear all this stuff going on, and they're kind of like the person you don't see, you don't notice, and they're running around doing all this stuff, and they're seeing more than people think they are.
Do you think it's possible they're slipping Ambience into his Diet Coke? He said he fell asleep during the Obama speech today. Do you think that was purposeful? Do you think a staffer slipped him a Mickey?
Well, sure. They don't want him to, they don't want him to do anything. And The best way to get him to not do anything is to put him to sleep.
But isn't the greater, I mean, think about this from who, happened to write the article, and there's references to conversations with other people, right? So this isn't just a one-off, anonymous one person. This is a culture. This is a crew within the White House.
Yeah, I think you're right. Absolutely.
Pete, do you think it took any courage to author this anonymous op-ed? I mean, is that any more courage than like posting on Reddit or something? I don't see this as a very courageous act. If you had any real courage, you'd do so publicly. You'd come out and you'd chastise the president, and you at least
take your beating. Then
you would take your beating. You might have to resign. You might have to leave the White House. That doesn't seem like the worst thing that could happen at this point, because eventually this person will be found out and they will be damned, except by history. But history might judge you a little better if you actually had the courage to stand by your name with your convictions.
Right. But, it seems like Republicans don't have that in them because they don't want to stand up against authority, even though they know it's not right.
Well, here's the reassuring part, Pete. They're stealing all the quarters out of Mom's purse. No Donkey Kong or Diet Coke for you.
Thank you for the call, Pete from Milwaukee. You can be like Pete, 844-967-2789. Let's get to Mark from the Sac. Hey, Mark, happy Friday. What do you got today?
Hey, Mark.
Well, you've got to wrench us back to the Kavanaugh hearings. I mean, I can't understand these guys. Well, they claim the name the Federalist Society, and I can't. And they claim to be strict constructionists. But where do you construct the president is immune from all investigations or prosecutions if you actually, Section 4 of in Article 2 of the Constitution talks about impeachment of the president upon,
But Mark, I mean,
impeachment of the president.
Let's stop pretending that Kavanaugh's ideology is somehow constitutionally bound. I mean, this guy has been a Republican operative since the get-go. He was part of the prosecution of Bill Clinton. He was part of the lawsuit on behalf of George W. George W. Bush in Florida, saying that, if they did an actual recount, that George Bush would be irreparably harmed. Yeah, because he would have lost the election. And of course, this guy is not, he's not pro-life. He has ruled that the government has the right to force people to have abortions. So this guy's just a Republican operative. This guy is no sort of, constitutional originalist.
But he prevented that. He tried to prevent that one young woman who had been raped from getting an abortion, and which is terrifying. And that how do we call these senators to account, because they took an oath to uphold the Constitution. And
yeah, so did Trump.
But I mean, that's what the Democrats should be coming out and said. Those guys took the same oath that the Democrats did to uphold the Constitution, to defend the Constitution. It's not defending us from foreign adversaries and all this. It's to defend the Constitution. And this guy is an affront to the Constitution. He's afraid, that the king, that they pointed out in the when they've argued about for the Constitution. Maggie Don would probably have more information on this than I can glean out of this, but they had to defend having a president because people were so afraid we'd have an unaccountable king. So we have a president who is subject to the same laws that you and I are subject to, and the Democrats should hammer on that and challenge the Republicans and say, how cowardly can you be that you think we should have a king, have an unaccountable for king? And I guess, and that's, expecting courage out of any of the Republicans now is just lost.
Thank you for the call, Mark, 844-967-2789. For anyone to sit up and think that the President of the United States could not be prosecuted if he shot someone in front of the White House is one of the most asinine things I can ever think of. And, of course, they could say, well, we got to go through the impeachment process. Well, I would also argue, well, what happens when you have a majority in the Congress who is also on the take or not willing to do their duty? Justice delayed is justice denied. There's no frickin' way on this earth that anybody who thinks in the rule of law and the way we ideally should live in this country would think that there is a president who could commit those kinds of crimes and not get prosecuted for it. It's an asinine thought. But again, this is
it's all in a matter of timing, apparently, Don.
Well, yeah, if it's the Republican president, what?
You can't weigh down a president with indictments and subpoenas and, well, impeachment.
We have a president, not a king.
Crudy found this one, Bloomberg.com. My brother-in-law Sebastian sent it to me. It is a good one. I'd like to share it with the audience.
#sub.
Anonymous is another word for complicit. Republican insiders tell one another that Trump is an abomination. What they tell his voters is something else. Francis Wilkinson, again from Bloomberg.com. It seems some people in the White House think President Donald Trump is ignorant, dangerous, and unhinged. They told author,
and that's Melania.
They told author Bob Woodward that, though, they wouldn't allow him to use their names. One of them wrote an op-ed about Trump's deranged reign for the New York Times, but wouldn't allow his or her name to be used. And, of course, White House reporters have been quoting anonymous White House sources about the Trump wreckage since Trump began his erratic run for president. Basically, everyone in the political business, including lots of people who collect taxpayer-funded salaries to pretend otherwise, know that Trump is a malicious, incompetent buffoon. But who's going to tell Trump's voters? After all, there are 63 million who voted for Trump. Some of those millions voted for him knowing full well that Trump is malicious. That's what they like about him. He operationalizes their resentments and rationalizes their insecurities. Other voters in 2016 soothed their doubts by hoping that Trump, upon taking the oath of office, would magically rise from the ethical sewer in which he has spent a lifetime. Nothing in the op-ed in the New York Times or in the voluminous comments to Woodward about an unhinged executive alters the political dynamics of the GOP or its red-carpeted mutant offspring MAGA. What these Republican insiders tell one another is that Trump is an abomination doing an abysmal job. What they tell their voters is something else. Out in the great wide electorate between the Potomac, 8 in 10, sometimes as many as 9 in 10 Republicans approve of the job Trump is doing. And because Republican leaders have spent years telling their voters to distrust legitimate news media and to believe only loyal partisans, such as Fox News, there is no reason to expect the op-ed or the Woodward book or any other manifestation of truth to penetrate the veil of carefully constructed unreality. 6 years ago, political scientist Norman Ornstein and Thomas More wrote prematurely the Republican Party's epitaph. And I quote, "The Republican Party has become an insurgent outlier, ideologically extreme, contemptuous of the inherited social and economic policy regime, scornful of compromise, unpersuaded by conventional understanding of facts, evidence, and science, and dismissive of the legacy of its political opposition." Crudy.
In the ensuing 6 years, the party has intensified those failings while adding others. It has embraced Trump's rampant personal corruption and grown comfortable with his attacks on blacks and Hispanics and women. The party has escalated bad faith attacks on the news media that accurately chronicle Trump lies and on liberal institutions that resist the almost daily assaults on the rule of law and public ethics. House Speaker Paul Ryan has devoted the last 2 years of his speakership to deploying the House Intelligence Committee as a fog machine, the better to obscure any Trump connections to Russian subterfuge or other illegality. Senate leader Mitch McConnell floods the judiciary with conservative white male judges devoted to preserving and extending the racial and sexual hierarchies of the 20th century. It's not nothing that a nuclear holocaust has thus far been averted. Thanks for that, Anonymous. But other acts of aggression, from the Muslim ban to voter suppression, continued undeterred. The Trump administration planned and executed a policy of seizing infants from their parents at the U.S. border. It did so with such grotesque callousness that it thus far is unable to unite hundreds of literally kidnapped children from their parents. Not one Republican in Congress has held a hearing to find out how this crime occurred and who is responsible. The corruption of the party is endemic. Anyone who thinks they can escape the moral and political taint of this administration by murmuring anonymous misgivings about Trump is a fool as well as a coward. We name names, Dom.
Yes, we do.
I don't find this anonymous statement, well, jaw-dropping. I read it on the air. I told you, perhaps the worst moment of the Trump presidency, but not a courageous act per se. Courage takes standing up and saying, here I am.
Standing up for what you believe in, even if you lose everything.
I mean, effectively, this is ding-dong ditch, right? I mean, Colin Kaepernick showing more courage than this anonymous White House staffer who can't put his name on an op-ed because, the Trumpsters might throw tomatoes at him?
Might lose his job. You're going to lose your job anyway. But what's the deal? Why would they do it, Crudy? Because, of course, they still are pushing their agenda. They still want Kavanaugh, right? They still want their tax cuts. They still want to spend the Treasury's money to the tune of $1.5 trillion deficit because that's what they're about. They just don't like the guy at the head who's doing it.
I'm not sure that they don't like him. They like him very much. The approval ratings for this man very high amongst Republicans, which means you're all deplorable. Come back with us. 844-967-2789. Air your grievances here.
Anonymous. What are we going to do to protect the American people and their democracy from this kind of thing in the future?
The most important decision you can make right now is where do you stand? Goodness or badness?
The courts agree with us, too. What's going on in this country?
You'll get nothing and like it.
So, Jesse, why should someone buying a home pay for an agent when they can go online or call the number on a for sale sign?
Great questions. First of all, never call the number on a sign to see a home. That's the seller's agent, and they don't represent your interests. If they show you a home outside of an open house, you forfeit your ability to have someone negotiate in your corner at no cost to you.
Well, with interest rates still at historic lows, how can buyers still get a great deal and protect their rights?
Step 1, find a buyer's agent that you trust. Your agent will best find the home that fits your needs, anticipate problems, and negotiate on your behalf from offer through closing day. And most home listing contracts stipulate that the seller's agent pays for the buyer's commission.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, they're honest. Whether buying or selling in Madison or Dane County, call Solidarity Realty, 608-284-9311, or find them at solidarityrealty.com.
I would like to thank you, President Trump. I also want to express my thanks to Governor Walker.
Foxconn CEO Terry Goh is thankful to the Republicans who delivered his $4.5 billion in corporate welfare.
Thank you to Foxconn.
Scott Walker thanks the foreign corporation who received the largest corporate welfare subsidy in history.
Thank you, Mr. President.
What about thanking the hardworking Wisconsin taxpayers you saddled with a generation of debt for a project that may never be paid back?
People should be rushing to me and patting my back and say, hey, thank you, Mr. Foxconn.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212 and tell him no thank you to corporate welfare, no thank you to environmental rollbacks, no thank you to a project that may never be paid back, no thank you to Foxconn. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Wreaking havoc on America, just like they wreaked havoc on Wisconsin. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio, streaming on YouTube and Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the party line. Talk or text, air your grievances toll free, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we still air grievances around here on Fridays, right?
Oh, specifically. I mean, we air lots of grievances, but we make a point to try to do it a lot on Fridays.
A lot on Fridays. Well, let's air a grievance of mine and apparently Paul Fanlin. Right-wing media. It's not all the same. It's not all sides are doing it. And far too often, well, let me read from the piece. Research says those in right-wing media bubble don't care about facts. Paul Fanlon, Cap Times. Seldom do I get vitriolic emails quite like those after my recent column asking why so many older white men have a sort of teenage crush on the phony toughness of President Trump. In it, I describe Trump as a preening silver spoon bully who prefers that real sacrifice be made by others. And yet, these supposedly oh-so-masculine patriots in the Make America Great Again hats still worship him. Now, I'm accustomed to criticism, but seldom do critics drag the name of William E-View, the Cap Times founder who died in 1970. That the E-View socialism showing through, one fellow wrote, I can't remember when my grandfather was out in the barn with the radio blasting when E-View's Hello Wisconsin came on. The old Norwegian shut the radio off. E-View, also of Norwegian descent, did a weekly statewide radio broadcast by that name for decades. The same writer informed me that Trump had done more for African Americans than President Obama. I mean, what is the current approval rating for Trump with blacks? 3%?
Well, they just don't appreciate what he's done for him, Crudy.
If someone can seal himself so tightly inside a right-wing bubble to believe that, that Trump did more than Obama for African Americans, well, there's really no place to go from there. Such emails are just reminders of how diametrically divided we are as a nation, and just how fundamentally different are the media ecosystems we inhabit. For years, I've railed about false equivalency in the mainstream media. The criticism is that the media often tries to do its job by reflexively treating warring ideologies with roughly equal weight, regardless of factual merits. This false balance can ultimately serve to mislead. Here's a summation by Vox. Throughout the 2016 election, the New York Times was heavily criticized for having a false equivalency problem. The critique was that the Times treated Hillary Clinton's problems, particularly emails and her work with the Clinton Foundation, as roughly equivalent to Donald Trump's problems. His racism, lies, conflicts of interest, for example. But now there is another and perhaps equally noteworthy form of false equivalency. This one is less understood and discussed. In the second usage, false equivalency suggests the mistake of seeing, on one hand, a vast mainstream media ecosystem that pushes against a right-wing ecosystem on the other, with both employing professional standards. So this thinking goes. When taken together, they create some approximation of journalistic balance. Think Sean Hannity offsetting Rachel Maddow. Now, I hear that all the time. Right-wing talk radio, what we decide on, we saw from a prior Paul Fanlon article. 81 right-wing talk radio stations in Wisconsin.
235 hours of right-wing talk radio per day.
And then there's us. There's Real Resistance Radio. So it's all equal then, right? I mean, it all balances out, right? Because there's left-wing talk radio and there's right-wing talk radio.
Well, we're certainly better than all of them combined, but they certainly have more volume pushing out than we do.
Well, that can be mathematically proven that we are better, and perhaps some say the greatest radio station, show, ever. Personas ever. But please, Tom, help me continue.
As again, from the Paul Fanlon piece on the Cap Times, that's always been nonsense because of how the right-wing media does its journalism. A new book provides data to prove that point, titled Network Propaganda, Manipulation, Disinformation, and Radicalization in American Politics. It is co-written by Harvard professor Yoki Bentler and researchers Robert Ferris and Hal Roberts. They analyzed millions of online stories and social media posts to reach a central finding that the conservative media of today is nothing like the mainstream professional media. While the book has a less than snappy title, its thesis is simple. That while the mainstream media employs professional standards of journalistic objectivity, that is utterly untrue inside right-wing media. Liberals want facts, conservatives want their biases reinforced, wrote Jeffrey Toobin of The New Yorker about the book's findings. Liberals embrace journalism, conservatives believe propaganda. Or in the author's words, the right-wing media ecosystem differs categorically from the rest of the media environment and has been more susceptible to disinformation, lies, and half-truths. They researched and wrote the book, its authors said, to shine a light on the right-wing media ecosystem itself as the primary culprit for sowing confusion and distrust in the broader American ecosystem. No blaming both sides here. The authors illustrated how the system works by identifying widely unsubstantiated stories on each side of the left-right media spectrum. In mainstream journalism, crazy claims against right-wing targets were typically fact-tested and dismissed, and thus never reached massive national audiences. On the right, though, organizations like InfoWars, run by conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, pushed absurd conspiracies that were not scrutinized and instead amplified by organizations like Fox News. Nothing on the left, the authors wrote, parallels the chronic falsity of those on the right. Now, those of us outside this right-wing media ecosystem probably knew this, or at least strongly sensed it, but it's helpful to have it quantified. As I've written and talked about, this right-wing media trend of distortion has been growing since the FCC dropped the fairness doctrine requiring contrasting viewpoints on controversial issues of public importance in broadcast media back in 1987. Fox News was invented a decade later as a propaganda vehicle masquerading as mainstream news network. These days, you can find Trump and the right wing at large complaining incessantly about the so-called fake news and claiming that social media platforms censor conservative perspectives. Just this week, Republicans on the House committee grilled the CEO of Twitter, who repeatedly denied claims that algorithms suppress conservative views. A Democrat on the committee called the notion a load of crap. He's right about that, but the allegations apparently serve two purposes: reinforcing the Trump base while subtly seeking to sway mainstream journalists.
Binkler, the Harvard professor, said there is no evidence that social media platforms censor right-wing content. He told the Los Angeles Times that the real goal by Republicans is to make traditional journalists and others hypersensitive to conservative interest. I think that the president and right-wing media are doing with social media platforms like Facebook is exactly what they've been doing with the mainstream journalist, working the referee. Given how consistently all the top sites in the right-wing media ecosystem amplify and lend credence to pure partisan disinformation, all you need in order to be left is to adhere to a standard of norms of journalism or science. I often try to wrap up my columns with something upbeat. On this one, writes Paul Fanlin, I got nothing, or at least not much. And he really didn't conclude very strongly, but the rest of the article, I think, makes a good point. Right-wing talk radio, right-wing media, it's not the same. We tell the truth. They hold themselves to a differing standard. Come back with us. More Devils, 844-967-2789. Keep airing the grievances here.
I'm gonna walk all over you.
We'll do it live. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Those are fucking fighting words. On many sides. On many sides.
You know, we'll deal with this tomorrow night.
I promise. I promise.
I'm Andy Buck, Field Representative with Painters and Allied Trades of Wisconsin. It's an issue that brings constant challenges for building contractors. How to find qualified painters, glazers, and drywall finishers. IUPAT knows what you want. A professional job performed by skilled workers who care about safety, training, and finishing strong. Workers who are reliable and ready on demand. Let IUPAT provide the people power that you need. You'll feel confident the job is finished right. Connect at IUPATDC7.com and finish strong.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
Price for lying. Apple's worries. I'm Mike Moss. Former Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos has just been sentenced to 14 days in jail, a small fine, and community service for lying to the FBI investigating possible campaign ties to Russia. President Trump has called him nothing more than a coffee boy. Former President Obama was today highly critical of the Trump administration, but also criticized those voters who stay home on Election Day.
In the end, the threat to our democracy doesn't just come from Donald Trump or the current batch of Republicans in Congress or the Koch brothers and their lobbyists or too much compromise from Democrats or Russian hacking. The biggest threat to our democracy is indifference.
John Dean, the former White House counsel to President Richard Nixon, is warning against Senate confirmation of Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh.
He would have the Congress immunize sitting presidents from both civil and criminal liability. Under Judge Kavanaugh's recommendation, if a president shot somebody in cold blood on Fifth Avenue, that president could not be prosecuted while in office.
Democrats have complained that they've been unable to adequately vet Kavanaugh because his records have been withheld. Confirmation hearings have just ended. Apple is one of the companies that says the president's proposal to expand tariffs on Chinese-made items will hurt its business. President threatened new China tariffs while aboard Air Force One today.
We've taxed them $50 billion, that's on technology. Now we've added another $200 billion. And I hate to say this, but behind that, there's another $267 billion ready to go on short notice if I want.
On Wall Street, the Dow closed down today, 79 points, S&P down 6, and the Nasdaq down 20. I'm Mike.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy but know you need to move? Hi, folks. This is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean, most are pet-friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009. Or visit cclmanagement.com today.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. Closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Tesla stock took a sharp downturn today after Elon Musk was seen taking a hit of marijuana on a podcast.
It was during a live YouTube taping of Joe Rogan's podcast, actually near the end of a nearly 2+ hour conversation, that the electric car maker CEO was seen taking a hit off a marijuana joint and drinking whiskey.
I mean, it's legal, right?
It's totally legal.
Okay.
How does that work? Do people get upset at you if you do certain things? There's tobacco and marijuana in there. That's all it is.
The stock plummeted as much as 10% after that for a time. This also on the word that the company's chief accounting officer quit, and the SEC opening an inquiry about Musk's aborted go-private deal. Calls into Tesla for comment have not been returned. Jim Roop, Los Angeles.
Federal prosecutors say a Russian hacker accused of the biggest theft yet of consumer data from a U.S. financial institution has been extradited from the country of Georgia to the United States. Andrei Tyurin faces charges of engaging in securities manipulation and fraud. I'm Mike Moss.
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
Tom Perez, chair of the Democratic National Committee. Scott Walker went on something of a Twitter storm, very Trumpian. What do you think this foretells for Scott Walker's future as the governor of the state of Wisconsin?
Wisconsinites have woken up. He talked about we need an optimistic message. How can you make people feel optimistic when you take away their health care? How can you make people optimistic when you take away the right to bargain? How can you make people feel optimistic when you're gerrymandering the heck out of districts?
Radio for the 99%.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gostad. A Broadway actor originally from Brookfield, Wisconsin, is receiving applause and criticism for snatching a Trump banner from an audience member at the end of a performance of Frozen on Wednesday. Tim Hughes, who graduated from Brookfield Central in 2003, grabbed the banner, which read Trump 2020, as a man held it up during the curtain call at the end of the show. The man was also wearing a Make America Great Again visor. Hughes said in an Instagram post, "How frightening is it that our show's message of love, acceptance, and diversity has become the opposition to supporting Trump?" Friday, partly sunny, highs in the upper 60s in Milwaukee, around 70 in Madison. Tonight, mostly cloudy, lows in the mid-50s. Saturday, partly sunny, highs near 70. Sunday, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 60s. For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Keith Gostad.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back, hour 2 of the Friday edition of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, a question that's been pressing on my mind. If you get 2 weeks in prison, do you get conjugal visits?
I don't know, Crudy. When you go to prison, you can call me and ask me. No! Here's the breaking news. A once low-profile foreign policy campaign advisor,
Coffee Boy,
whose offhand remark in a London bar in May of 2016 helped trigger an FBI counterintelligence investigation into President Trump's campaign, was sentenced to 14 days incarceration Friday by a federal judge in Washington.
14 days in the pokey? Come on, man. People get longer in solitary confinement for a rules violation.
George Papadopoulos, 31, pleaded guilty in October to lying to the FBI about key details of his conversation with a London-based professor who had told him the Russians held dirt in the form of thousands of emails on Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Papadopoulos tried futilely for months to arrange a meeting between top Trump campaign aides and Russian officials. And asking the court for leniency, Papadopoulos said he made a terrible mistake for which I have paid a terrible price and am deeply ashamed. And that he was motivated to lie to the FBI to, quote, try and create distance between the issue, myself, and the president. In hindsight, he said in court, he recognizes that was wrong and might have harmed the investigation. Papadopoulos' attorney, Thomas Breen, went further, saying the president of the United States hindered this investigation more than George Papadopoulos ever could by calling the investigation fake news and a witch hunt. So there you go, 14 days.
Now, it would appear Papadopoulos' attorney is right now at the podium giving reaction. They asked, why so many delays in the sentencing? And he said, well, basically, that was a courtesy to the prosecutors. He was cooperating. Now, 14 days is almost insulting. Donald Trump's going to find some sort of gleeful 14 days. You know,
it's right. I mean,
everybody's done 14 days for breaking.
Again, we don't know the full story, right? So maybe, and I don't know this, but maybe he got 14 days less than people perhaps thought he would, because he was doing some sort of cooperation.
Even the probation officer said he should have gotten 30 days, and that was after cooperation. So he must have been really nice to the special counsel. You know, extra favors, that kind of stuff, Tom. I hope he gave some juicy details. And Lordy, I hope there's tapes.
Yeah, because 14 days does not stop anyone from lying. I mean, come on. It's a little bit of a joke. So I hope there was some cooperation. Perhaps we will find out in the future. But if you lie to the FBI and all you get is 14 days, and you could perhaps have a big upside for the lie if it works out, it doesn't really dissuade people.
I quit drinking one time for 14 days.
How did that work out?
Come on, 14 days. It's what in life can you not
do for 14 days?
Yes,
yeah,
literally.
Right. What crime? I mean, 14 days. 14 days? 3 hots in a cot in a federal pen?
Does he get a week off for good behavior?
I mean, it's not like he's going to state prison, man. You know, these are white-collar crimes. He's probably not going to get beaten up and his mattress taken.
Even Banderschwan, that guy, the Russian son-in-law.
Yeah, banker.
He got 30
guy.
days.
30 days in the hole. And Papadopoulos gets 14. So
you could have gotten 14 days for stealing money out of the cash register as the barista.
Well, that's kind of the point, right? I mean, what is the
14 days does
anybody.
not.
No.
I mean,
if you're going to lie to the FBI and get 14 days, again, depends on your circumstances. You might just consider doing that. But maybe he was really, really sorry. You know what? Maybe he gave some, usable dirt.
And a back rub to the prosecutor. I mean, come on, 14 days. I got more than 14 days, Don.
Wow. And you didn't even lie to the FBI.
No, I didn't.
That was a misdemeanor.
Maybe if I'd have lied, I'd only gotten 14 days. You know what, Dom? When you hear this newest news, and more proof that the special counsel, Mueller, has done his job, more pleadings of guilt and sentences. And Donald Trump took this opportunity, while addressing supporters to say, it'll be your fault if I get impeached. President Donald Trump sought to heighten the sense of urgency for his base Thursday. I'm reading from CNN. Kate Sullivan. Heighten the sense of urgency for his base Thursday when he told supporters that if he is impeached, it's your fault because you didn't get out to vote. Trump has discussed the prospect of being impeached before, but his comments come after the whirlwind week raised fresh questions about his fitness for office and control over his administration. You didn't get out to vote. That's the only way it could happen, Trump said during a rally in Billings, Montana. If you can win over Billings, Tom,
you can win the country.
You'll stay out of the pokey for sure. I'll be the only president in history they'll say, what a job he's done. By the way, we're impeaching him. This election, you aren't just voting for a candidate. You are voting for which party controls Congress, the president said. Very important thing. Very important thing. Let's not forget, historically speaking, Bill Clinton was impeached during a very good time for the economy. And to date, Donald Trump has not been impeached yet.
It's been a pretty good time for the economy, although we haven't, we've still been in a yearly deficit.
I don't think anyone's impeaching the president because we're deficit spending. If that were the case, every Republican in the history of America would be in the pokey, or at least have been impeached.
Well, and Dems, with the exception of Bill Clinton. But doesn't it... Come on, man. People, do you listen to the words he is saying? It's your fault if he gets impeached. So what the impression is, he would get impeached for no reason?
Not for his crimes.
No, not for
collusion.
No, not for any of those things.
Obstruction of justice. Hell, Giuliani says, we are not even going to testify. We won't even answer written questions. I mean, it's going to come to a brink. The brinksmanship is happening right now between Giuliani and the special counsel. And I hope it's not delayed by months. I hope we don't get some sort of delayed report. I hope it drops right before the midterms. And Trump can, partisanship, they dropped it in the 60-day window. The only 60-day window that matters is for political advertising. Right. It's not really a thing, Donald.
It'll be done when it's done. I hope it's done thoroughly, accurately, and rolled out when it's done. Who cares what else is happening? Justice is what I seek, Crudy, not expediency.
And Trump's head on a pike.
844-967-2789. Let's get some callers in. Joe from Stevens Point, you are up. Happy Friday. What do you got for us today?
Happy Friday, dudes. Yeah, you know what? Wow, Obama. It's so sad to see Pee Wee Herman stand up and try to defend and point out a flashlight forward. This is the guy, again, people, he lost 1,000 seats, man. We can't be looking to him like it's some voice of reason, wisdom. The reason why Trump is here, the funniest way I ever heard it explained was Trump is a dumb person's strongman. By contrast, Obama is a smart person's Republican light answer to problems that won't ever be solved by Republican light politics. So when you have that and people are left with, Dumb and Dumber, they told you they're desperate.
All right, Joel. But we played some cuts, and here were the topics: pivotal moment, stakes are higher. Go vote. What's up? What happened to the GOP? Cozying up to Russia. The manufactured backlash. Trump capitalizing on resentments when the economy recovery started. The job numbers are the same in the New York op-ed. Not a service, not a check. Now, regardless of what the man did during his presidency, do you have any objections to those statements?
Okay, so what about the Russian? What's the Russian aspect again?
Well, what happened to the GOP and Trump cozying up to Russia. That's his assessment.
That's all the stuff that didn't matter. People don't care about Russia. They tell you time and time again.
I care about Russia, Joe. What are you talking about? Wait a minute. What is Mueller investigating?
Dude, it does not have weight. You are like picking up a feather saying, yeah, there's something here, but there's no weight to it.
Based on what? What evidence? What?
He's talking about polling.
Based on this, I'll tell you what, if half of this country, according to Fox News, is making $30,000 a year or less, you've got an average price of a house at $217,000. We got a bunch of dorks on the Democrat side that are pushing Obamacare. That has been a proven failure. You can't have that. Half of the states have it. At a time I can't even believe this. Only Democrats could pull this stuff out. It's like your Trump resistance bumper sticker. Resist with what? Nothing? We're not putting anything down on the paper.
Hey, man, don't be attacking the bumper stickers, Joe.
Yeah,
You're not going to get a bumper sticker if you do that.
But you know what? Okay, I get that. But it's kind of like the first protest that happened under Trump in New York City that was organized by Bernie Sanders. Everybody showed up with a white T-shirt and nothing written down on it. We've got to resist him with a platform, and that's called political capital. Right now we're saying, you know what, we don't have any political capital. And it's a time that we write it down. Michelle Obama told us, when they go low, we go high. Well, we didn't. We go mute. We go say nothing. Because we don't feel like we have any political capital, because we've got this pay-for-play thing that's going on. Nobody's acknowledging what Chris Kobach is doing. Get out and vote. Why? We're not doing anything about throwing a check on Chris Kobach's cross-check.
Joe, you have a candidate. I mean, besides the platform, who's the candidate then? Tell me who the 2020 candidate who is going to be to galvanize.
Politics. Don't go with identity politics. Go with a platform.
Listen, you got to identify a candidate, Joe. It's not identity politics to ask who's the 2020, who's going to galvanize, who's going to be the person running on that platform that you espouse, Joe.
Hey, but you know what? Here's the beauty.
And her platform is inequality.
That's great, but you know what? These guys are fighting on a macro level, and you guys are coming at it from a micro level. And you know what? We've got macro big problems. And the DNC, the DCCC, these guys are not doing anything to help service what Trump is out there doing.
But you're picking on the wrong guys, man. We're not DCCC. We're not DNC. We're the good guys. We got the
team is so. I'm telling you, my team is so weak that we are the Cleveland Browns. And yeah, we could talk about a blue wave and this and that, but you can't tell me any collective big ideas that the Democrats are doing. Listen, I want to do it. You know, I feel like the Democratic Party is a fat camp. And you know, we can't turn the cameras on us and look at us working out, throwing punches, throwing kicks, throwing people to the ground politically through their stupid ideas. You know, we can't even do that because we say we have no political capital.
Come on, Joe, you act like we're all hanging out at the Curves.
Fat camp? I think he's talking about you, Crute.
Joe, you ain't getting a bumper sticker today.
Oh, hell, Joe, you get one. Come down, visit us anytime.
844-967-2789. Air your grievances here. Real Resistance Radio. Trump resistant.
Can I get you maybe even 3 of these? Coming from a space to teach you of the Pleiades. Can't stop the spirits when they need you. This life is more than just a read-through.
You have the Democrats on the other side who truly have become obstructionists.
I know you are, but what am I? 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 Infinity.
Very powerful.
So, Jesse, why should someone buying a home pay for an agent when they can go online or call the number on a for sale sign?
Great questions. First of all, never call the number on a sign to see a home. That's the seller's agent, and they don't represent your interests. If they show you a home outside of an open house, you forfeit your ability to have someone negotiate in your corner at no cost to you.
Well, with interest rates still at historic lows, how can buyers still get a great deal and protect their rights?
Step 1, find a buyer's agent that you trust. Your agent will best find the home that fits your needs, anticipate problems, and negotiate on your behalf from offer through closing day. And most home listing contracts stipulate that the seller's agent pays for the buyer's commission.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, they're honest. Whether buying or selling in Madison or Dane County, call Solidarity Realty, 608-284-9311, or find them at solidarityrealty.com.
On marijuana, unfortunately, as a public health issue and a public safety issue, I've opposed that.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, how can medical marijuana help those addicted to opioids?
There's 3 big things. There's clear consensus now that cannabis can treat pain. That is not an opinion. That is a consensus conclusion by big scientific bodies like the National Academy of Science. We also know that it can help treat the withdrawal symptoms of opioids. People, they don't want to be on them anymore. They want to quit, but they develop the terrible withdrawal symptoms. And now we have evidence that it can actually help heal the part of the brain that is diseased in someone who's an opioid addict. If you had to start from scratch and design a substance to help lead us out of the opioid epidemic, like in a lab, it would probably look very much like cannabis.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212. Tell him good people do smoke marijuana. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
When they go low, we get high. Tom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
Puff the magic dragon.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Real Resistance Radio, streaming on YouTube and Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the party line. Talk or text 844-967-2789.
What's that little Dommy Papers?
What?
Isn't that in the song Jackie Papers?
I don't know. I don't know all the words to Puff the Magic Dragon. I always got it mixed up with Pete's Dragon.
It is about weed, right? It is a marijuana reference. And just for the record, Joe, we also advocate for the legalization of marijuana around here. We're just not weak Democrats.
Wisco Paul, you are up. Happy Friday, my friend. What do you got for us today?
Happy Friday to you, boys. It looks like a capital M weekend again. Hey,
I'm still waiting for my six-pack, man. When is it coming?
yeah, that's going to come eventually.
All right,
Check's in the mail.
I got a bumper
Check's in the
sticker for
mail,
you as soon
right?
as I get some beer.
You know, Paul, the international world headquarters of the Devil's Advocates and the LLC that holds this radio station, I mean, literally, Paul, from my office, I can see Capital Brewery. I could walk over and buy an amber for my buddy. I just choose not to.
See, you're a better friend than Crudy, Paul.
Well, it's good beer. Hey, as far as Trump goes, the GOP can't really do anything because that's their base, and if they leave, they're going to lose elections. And also the GOP, they did get their tax cuts. They got the Supreme Court because that's a slam dunk. They're not going to stop that guy. And they're also getting their judges. And on top of that, they have Fox News and Ray Radio taking care of their backs. So, but I do get a kick out of Republicans investigating in Republicans because Mueller's a Republican, and so that's kind of funny, right? Am I correct? I mean, it's kind of I get a kick out of it anyway. And then they blame Democrats. I mean, holy Christ!
Well, they're following Trump's lead. He calls the Mueller investigative team like 19 angry Democrats.
That's crazy, man. Hey, can I throw a grievance in?
Sure. It's Friday, Paul.
Yeah, but you got to leave a quarter on the table, Paul.
A quarter on the table. Holy Christ. Okay, well, it's still Scott hole in the roads. They still suck. And the thing that really bugs me is he doesn't have any viable plan to fix anything out here. I think he's talking about one-lane roads or something else.
We don't need lanes.
Come on, the roads are done.
We don't need roads, I can't help it. I still think that's a winner. So I got to say Scott will suck lemons. And actually, I should call him Governor Flyover. That's a better thing. He doesn't want to be down here by the peasants like me. And you guys have a great weekend.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, sir.
Didn't the governor already declare mission accomplished? The part of the core of the zoo interchange is done now, so mission accomplished.
It's barrel fatigue, Crudy. People just can't stand all the orange barrels.
And from now on, no more expansion of highways.
No, they're fine. Highways are totally
lanes.
fine. Whatever lanes are there, that's all we need.
Governor Scott Walker got a lot of mileage out of a $3.6 billion budget deficit. Do you think our highway deficit's at least that? I mean, truly, if we were trying to keep up with the actual need to maintain the roads in the state of Wisconsin, I bet we're approaching a $3.6 billion highway deficit. Let's not forget 30 to 50% cuts, depending on the metric. Southeastern Wisconsin highways, about a 50% cut in funding.
Now, that doesn't include the highways for Foxconn, right?
I'm not clear. But I do know that the debt, the bonding, the debt, 66% higher highway funding debt. So we do less and we borrow more, and there's Scott holes in the roads.
And we're 49th in the country on the roads. But hell, at least he's not going to raise taxes.
I mean, really, the man's entire governance platform is all about a pledge he made to Grover Norquist. So when he ran for president someday, he could say, I never raised taxes. Never solved the damn problem, ever. Not in any sort of substantial or reasonable way. But I never raised taxes.
Listen, not raising
I'm a real
taxes
conservative.
And increasing borrowing is just different points on the balance sheet, man, on the financials. It's still accomplished. It's still the same thing. If you borrow it, you just have to pay the interest.
You know what Scott Walker would say about you? You're probably going to kneel down during the national anthem. Just stand up, Tom. Just stand up. And don't
stand for the anthem and kneel for the cross.
And dodge all the Scott holes. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. Friday grievances aired here. 844-967-2789. Real Resistance Radio.
And frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Honolulu.
Talk it out, man.
An anomalous, really an anomalous.
Kind of grabs you by the boo-boo,
Join the resistance against dirty carpets. Call Zero Res Madison today for our summer special. Clean and sanitize 3 rooms for only $139. Call 608-848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Head to toe, everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
5-9, your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Well, back in my day, we didn't build walls, we tore them down. That's why I listen to Real Resistance Radio. What's a firewall?
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Music is a bridge between the material and the spiritual. My name is Harvey Lauer, and I'm 82. As a blind person, you have to be aware that nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. You really have to try things. My folks got me a little radio in 1940, and that was the best Christmas present I ever got. When I was 11 years old is when I started to play music, play the piano, and then the accordion, and then the cello. My wife, who was also blind, was a good cook. When she died, that's when I started Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes, exclusively on Real Resistance Radio. Call in live at 844-967-2789 and give your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on local and national topics. Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 11 a.m., it will not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know. That's The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes on Real Resistance Radio. Always streaming live on realresistanceradio.com.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gosted. Keep an eye out for the new streetcars in Milwaukee. The 67-foot-long streetcars are being tested on city streets today. The fifth and final streetcar was being delivered earlier this morning. A grand opening date for the streetcar project, known as the HOP, will take place this fall and will be announced soon. The Brewers had off yesterday. They start a 3-game series with the Giants tonight at Miller Park. The Packers play the Bears Sunday night at Lambeau Field. This weekend is Indian Summerfest at the Summerfest grounds in Milwaukee. Also this Saturday is the second annual Milwaukee Polka Riot being held under the Polish moon at Sabatic. Friday, partly sunny, highs in the upper 60s in Milwaukee, around 70 in Madison. Tonight, mostly cloudy, lows in the mid-50s. Saturday, partly sunny, highs near 70. Sunday, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 60s. For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Keith Gosted.
The Devil's Advocates. Radio for nasty women everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's a Friday afternoon. You know, I always enjoyed this song, Dirty White Boy. I always, thought it was a fun little song. I always, like to self-identify.
Did you consider yourself a dirty white boy,
Oh, sure.
Crudy?
Absolutely. Put me down for Dirty White Boy. But in the context of political campaign ads, I find it less appealing. A little less down and dirty for my taste, if you will, Dom. I'm no prude, not like yourself.
Yeah, that's me, the prude.
Here's what I'm referencing. Molly Beck, Patrick Marley, Journal Sentinel Online. Scott Walker, and yes, folks, put it down on the calendar. Time for a little hashtag Walker bashing. Scott Walker and supporters deploy sexually explicit ads in tough re-election year. Little down and dirty, Dom.
Sinner.
3 months ago, Governor Scott Walker called his opponent pathetic for using the word GD in a speech to supporters. I think he caught us on the air, right? DPW convention. And then he did it again the day of the Tondela campaign launch.
Oh, he swore. My poor virgin ears.
Well, I only care because of FCC regulation. We're a radio outfit.
But yeah, but you're not Scott Walker complaining about it.
But now, the Republican incumbent is airing an ad that flashes the partially blurred words BJ, you know a BJ, Dom, and focuses on a young girl's breasts. Another ad paid for by the state Republican Party in support of Walker depicts a male teacher unbuckling his belt to suggest his pants were about to come off.
And that's when the whores come in.
Wow.
Walker is seeking a third term and is facing a challenge from the state school superintendent, Tony Evers, an opponent who has put Walker on the defensive about his own education record. And on the offensive about Evers, the result is a number of political ads crafted to attack Evers for not revoking the licenses of teachers accused of sexual misconduct, including an ad from Walker's campaign that talks about a middle school girl engaging in oral sex. You know, I'm always so pleased when that one comes on and we're at the dinner table, Dom.
Shame.
Critics like me and supporters of Walker like Dom debate whether the governor is being hypocritical by denouncing his opponent's speech but using sexually explicit content in ads, and whether Evers should have revoked licenses in these cases involving pornography, regardless of what the law allowed.
Well, say that again, regardless of what the law allowed.
But that's effectively the statement being put forth, is it doesn't matter what the law is. Just take away the man's teaching license.
And then
now the man,
sued.
Andy Harris from Milton Cross Plains Schools, the man did get all due process. An arbiter said you can't take his job away. No children were exposed to the supposed hardcore pornography. But I got to tell you, it's a little offsetting to see what, a 12, 13-year-old girl in a, you know, like a zoom shot on her chest. Now they're not showing her face, but some young lady was the model. Some young lady is sexually objectified in the ad so Scott Walker and his minions can make their point. Some parents just want to change the channel. It's like it's invading your home. Tammy Fleshheib of Grafton said of her reaction to the graphic ad from the state Republican Party that aired while she and her 14 and 16-year-old sons were having dinner. Fleshheib is a Evers supporter, but said she would be equally upset if the Democrats were running ads that were so explicit. When you're eating dinner and that ad comes on, it doesn't matter who the ad is for or who created it or who paid for it, she said. You want it to be off. Yeah, it's sort of offensive. I think that's the point. You know, negative ads, they're not really to turn you out for Scott Walker. They're to turn you off on Tony Evers, I read on. It's not just on TV. Since the August 14th primary election, when Evers beat out 7 challengers, Walker has tweeted more than 40 times about cases involving teachers accused of looking at pornography and engaging in alleged sexual misconduct. Walker hits Evers on language. You know, preacher kid. Never swears, I'm sure. Governor Walker, nothing but the purest words.
Yeah, pay me.
Well said. 3 months ago, Walker expressed derision at using strong language in public. In a Twitter post in June, Walker wrote that Evers was pathetic for saying he was GD, sick and tired of Walker's politics. We're all kind of GD, sick and tired of Walker's politics. I read on. It's pathetic seeing what has become of Tony Evers, Walker wrote. He used the Lord's name in vain this weekend, apparently to look tough at the convention. The focus on sexual misconduct comes at a time when Walker and Evers are locked in a tight race, with some polling showing Evers ahead in a year when Democrats have enthusiasm on their side.
Now, if I may, Curdy, the Lord's name in vain, I'm assuming he means like Jesus, the Christian Lord, right, and all that. What would Jesus say to Scott Walker about, you know, visiting prisons or, you know, abusing the kids in Lincoln Hills, or, you know, just what do you think? I'm the atheist here. I don't believe in any of that, but what do you think Jesus would tell Scott Walker?
Well, I think Jesus was for the meek. I don't recall them having to pee in cups. You know, he fed them with loaves and fish. And when Jesus came upon, you know, let's say someone that was disabled on the roadside, they didn't call it that then. But do you think Jesus stopped and said, I'd really like to help you out, buddy, but you got a pre-existing condition?
I don't think so.
And I think it was Jesus that turned over the money changers at the temple, you know, the whole usury, the loaning of money at exorbitant rates. Well, Scott Walker, of course, is supportive of the payday loan industry. So there are some non-Jesus-like habits that this man displays. Now, nothing in the Bible about illegal coordinated campaigning with third-party groups. It was illegal when he was doing it, but that's man's law. Big issue with God's law. Can't break God's law. Don't take the Lord's name in vain.
What about having premarital sex and a child out of wedlock?
You can't prove that. That was Scott P. Walker. My name's Scott K. Walker. Baby mama.
A different tone, I continue. Governor Walker
allegedly
has indicated that this year is going to be a challenging year for his campaign and for his party, said Barry Burton, a University of Wisconsin-Madison political science professor and director of the university's Elections Research Center. The headwinds he faces might be why Walker's style of campaigning is somewhat different this election cycle. Burton says the ads running on behalf of Walker represent a more aggressive and personal criticism of Evers this time around than what his previous opponents have faced. Earlier campaigns also featured negative advertising, to be sure, but the 2018 ads are appearing earlier and are harsher than has been the norm for Walker, Burton said. Personalizing the race and undercutting Evers on the very issue where he might otherwise be seen as especially credible is a possible way to reframe the election from a national referendum to a local contest where Walker has a better shot at keeping his seat. But Walker's campaign and other Republicans say the cases illustrated in the ads are disqualifying for Evers. The language used comes directly from public reports and investigative files that were submitted to Tony Evers in cases relating to his complete failure to protect students from predators. State Rep Joe Clayfish, Crudy's buddy, who was married to Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Clayfish, paused for a few minutes before answering whether he would be comfortable watching Walker's ads with his young daughters. Sometimes reality is extremely uncomfortable, and that discomfort emphasizes the graphic actions for which Tony Evers should have taken immediate, decisive action, Joel Clayfish said.
Man, Rebecca's team sure got him all queued up, don't they?
Assembly Majority Leader Jim Steineke from Kaukauna, Republican, said he hadn't seen the Walker ads, but he was more focused on Evers' actions than how Walker is portraying them on TV. If I had to choose what I'm uncomfortable with, I'm more uncomfortable with the fact that women in these schools were subjected to this kind of behavior and kids were exposed to these kinds of comments and actions, and nothing was done to remove the perpetrators from those schools, he told reporters in a conference call this week. Among the cases referenced in the ads, DPI investigators found no evidence to prove children were exposed to the behavior or content. However, maybe someone should tell Mr. Jim Steineke that, because if that's the case, he's a big fat welder or liar. Evers' campaign manager, Maggie Gow, said Walker simply can't run on his record and is deploying a strategy of relying on disgusting, dishonest, and increasingly desperate attacks. The people of Wisconsin know Tony has spent his lifetime doing what is best for our kids, that he followed the law. And when a loophole in the law on teachers' licenses needed to be changed, he worked with both parties to toughen the law so any offending teacher would now lose their license to teach.
You know, my daughter had Andy Harris when she was a student in Middleton Cross Plains School. She did describe him as something of a creeper, but that's about the worst you could say about the guy from the perspective of one of the students. Now, let's get to the phones. We got a friend. He was a guest earlier today in this fine studio, and he was a gubernatorial candidate in his own regard. It's Malin Mitchell. How you doing, Malin?
Good, brother. How you doing? How are you guys?
Hey, Malin. Awesome, dude.
I'm sitting here listening to you guys as I'm on my way home from Milwaukee.
Nice. 1580 or 1510, sir?
1510.
Well, if it gets staticky, flip it to 1580. Take us all the way home, Malin.
I'll take you all the way home. I don't know if I want to take you two home, but it's Friday night.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Malin, you got a teenage daughter, young daughter. What's your opinion of these campaign ads? They're fairly offensive to my opinion, but want to get yours. The Scott Walker attacking Tony Evers ads.
Well, they're offensive. They're not true. I mean, if you look at Tony's record, he has, when he could, taken a license of teachers that he could actually legally do. and have that done. So what we're seeing is, again, politics as usual, where I think someone said earlier that Governor Walker can't run on his own record, so all he can do is defame and try to diminish the record of someone else. So, yeah, my daughter's 19 right now, and I wouldn't. And the ad came over to my house. I have a son who is a freshman in high school. It's not just about my daughter; it's about kids, period. And the ads that are being played right now are despicable. They're embarrassing. They're not true. They're lies. But that's unfortunately what we see when it comes to politics in this day and age.
But also, are they objectifying teenage girls? I mean, when you see talking about the ads, they zoom in on a teenage girl's chest. You know, I mean, they're emphasizing the point using these teenage actresses in their ads. I mean, okay, they're not true factually, but you could run a different ad that wouldn't be objectifying these women, these girls.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately, Dom. That's politics right now, and I don't know what the answer is. I guess the answer is to not do it, but that's not what we're saying. I would say that we have a governor who is running scared, and they're going to do anything. I think we're just seeing the beginning of it. They're going to do anything and everything to try to defame Tony and our ticket. And it's unfortunate. I mean, it's politics. I wish it could go back to a time where we could sit around and talk about and debate the issues and debate what we don't agree with, and then people make their decision. But now it's more, I got you politics, and it's more that let me see how far I can go to defame you so that I can get the vote. And, you know, we have a governor who's running for the third term. And he's got to do everything he can to make sure that he wins, and it's unfortunate.
Well, Malin, perhaps these attack ads against Tony Evers might have some teeth if there were actually any sort of accusations against Tony Evers. I mean, Tony didn't do anything. Tony's not accused of viewing porn or anything other than failing to follow the law in his prior job. I mean, Scott Walker's got a legal defense fund. Scott Walker has broken the law. There are plenty of reasons for Scott Walker to say, look over there. But these accusations, Malin, they don't even really accuse Tony Evers of doing anything except being, a bad administrator of a large department, and this is an HR issue on an individual school level? Come on, man. Tony didn't do anything.
Well, you know, they tried to get me to attack Tony Evers a lot of times, and I just said that no, I don't have anything to attack him on. I mean, he's like my nice grandfather who has been, and that wasn't a knock. A lot of people thought I was trying to take a hit at him. I wasn't. It was just, I don't want to say he hasn't done anything wrong because we're all imperfect, but the man he's been a steward of our school districts. He's been a huge help to actually our kids in the state, and I'm supporting him. I mean, no doubt, and I'm not getting paid to be on your show right now. I called it on my own volition right now.
We're not even getting paid to be on the show, Malin, but please continue. Come on, man, just a joke. Keep going.
You should get paid something. But I'm not getting paid. I believe that Tony Evers, and I know for a fact, he's a good man. And he does the right thing when it's right, not as opposed to Scott Walker, who does the right thing when it's right for Scott Walker. So I'll tell you this: I'm supporting him. I believe I know the people listening should support him. But Governor Walker he's doing what he's got to do right now to try to win elections. He's very good at it, though. Let's not be fooled.
Malin, I got to ask you a serious question. Have you ever heard any credible accusations against Tony Evers greeting a Russian spy in Russian?
No.
Well, there are those accusations against Scott Walker, Maria Butina being held still in federal custody.
That's not an accusation. It is a known fact. Governor Walker has admitted that he spoke with her. Of course, he said he didn't know her.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Does this mean you're not going to vote for Scott Walker again?
I am not voting for Scott Walker. hell to the no. And I will, Mitchell, I will try to convince everybody I know to not vote for this person. He is a terrible human being. It should not be a governor.
Malin.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Tony Bruce and a Russian spy. No, I've never heard that. Now that would be a great commercial because then we know we've gone too far. But no, I've never heard that.
Well, Malin, a former Dem gubernatorial candidate, a friend of ours for a long, long time. Before he ever ran, he was a friend of ours.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir. I wish we had cold ones. I wish we were tipping something in a bar in Fitchburg somewhere right now, Malin.
At the Atomic Koi. We used to have a couple.
Oh, yeah. It's been too long, sir.
I tell you what, Malin, give me like 90 minutes. I'll meet you at the Koi.
All right.
Buddy, you have a great weekend. Thank you for calling in to the Devil's Advocates, and may I commend your choice of radio listenership. You've chosen well.
Some say the greatest radio station ever.
Come back with us, couple dirty white boys doing our best. Not making a lot of money over here. Apparently, that's disappointing to Malin. Imagine how sad our spouses must be. Come back with us, 844-967-2789. Air your grievances here.
Having a great time.
Who's your favorite little rascal? Alfalfa? Or is it Spanky?
Shame, shame. Know your name.
It wasn't true. It was a Scott Walker, a Scott P. Walker. I'm Scott Kevin Walker.
Sinner.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. That's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
I am sick and tired of big power brokers telling voters what's important instead of the other way around. So I joined the Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. It's a community of like-minded local progressives where the members help determine what issues are important. And with the aid of professional organizers and some of the top progressive strategists in Wisconsin, we make the powers that be take notice and action. We're working on fair elections, the climate crisis, immigrant rights, electing progressive candidates, and more. Plus, we have a campaign called Radioactive that supports this station and Real Resistance Radio. So, come help us reclaim our power as voters.
Become a member of the Citizen Action Organizing Co-op. Go to citizenactionwy.org.
I'm Andy Buck, Field Representative with Painters and Allied Trades of Wisconsin. It's an issue that brings constant challenges for building contractors. How to find qualified painters, glazers, and drywall finishers. IUPAT knows what you want. A professional job performed by skilled workers who care about safety, training, and finishing strong. Workers who are reliable and ready on demand. Let IUPAT provide the people power that you need. You'll feel confident the job is finished right. Connect at IUPATDC7.com and finish strong.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing. Hashtag Walker bashing.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Speaking of hashtag Walker bashing, the gubernator was in Milwaukee on Tuesday. Milwaukee Press Club and the Rotary Club of Milwaukee at the Memorial Hall at the War Memorial Center.
Aren't you a member of the fine Milwaukee Press Club, Don?
It's been some time. I let my membership lapse.
Didn't pay the dues?
I thought about
Cheap
it.
Bastard.
Let's get into Governor Scott Walker, why he is running. See if Crudy can guess this one. Cut 7.
But for me, it's simple. The reason I ran even for county executive years ago, when nobody in the universe, including just about everybody in my own party, thought I should be running for county executive, It's the same reason why I ran for governor. The same reason why we put up with some of the things we had to put up with in Madison. And it's the same reason why I'm running again now. And it's really two simple things.
Crudy, I'm going to let you take a crack.
Matt and Alex.
Cut it.
Matt and Alex. Those are my two sons. Today, they're 23 and 24. Their birthdays aren't today, but right now, they're 23 and 24. When I first ran for county executive, they were just little kids. When I ran for governor, they weren't yet out of high school. Today, they've gone through college. They've graduated. They both worked for a short amount of time in some other state, and they both came back home. I got to tell you, for Tonette and I as parents, our idea of the American dream is not owning your own business, although that's pretty cool for those of you who do. It's not even owning your own home, which we love to have our home in Wauwatosa just down the way from here.
They don't have a house
For us
anymore.
as parents,
What?
our idea of the American dream is simply this. We want our children to be able to grow up and graduate and finding a meaningful career that keeps them relatively close to home.
Working for Leah Vukmer or some other political hack.
Governor Scott Walker.
He does not have a house, so that's not the American dream.
Well, he may have
He did
bought,
not graduate.
He may have bought a house in the last year since
Come
he
on,
sold the
man.
other one. But we don't know, right? Do you know? I mean, I don't know.
With what money did the president? Oh, he didn't make it the president, right? But his FEC filings when he ran for president showed the man was carrying debt on a Barclays card at 27.24%. Dom, a man that would accept lending terms as those. I mean, even Jesus would have been turning the tables over.
On Barclays card?
But Scott Walker had to accept those god-awful borrowing terms, I suspect. And I don't know this. But A, not a smart, fiscally prudent sort. And B, probably bad credit, or at least iffy. You know, if it was really bad, he wouldn't even get the Barclays card. But the fact that he accepted the Barclays card at 27.24%, that just means you don't have A-plus credit.
I mean, you know, the next option is going up the street to Uncle Vito.
He literally had a net negative worth of $73,500 when he made his FEC disclosure when he ran for president.
Well, no wonder why he's out there trying to raise money hand over fist.
And remember the Republican friends that didn't think he should run for county executive, didn't think he should run for governor? It's because you're not qualified. That's why they were discouraging you. That's why they were dismissive of your candidacy.
But once you're governor, once you become governor, aren't you then qualified to be governor because you have it on your resume? You're governor.
That's his American dream, just rising to the level of his incompetence.
Yes, his
and
American
then going just a
dream.
little higher.
Laying on the government hammock for 25 plus years, not contributing at all to our economy, and trying to get paid.
I sure do hope when he's unemployed, November 8th of this year, it'd be nice to think he'd have to go qualify for unemployment.
And pee in a cup.
Ah! Folks, we're the devil's advocates. There'll be no peeing around here.
No.
I don't think anyone would pass that test unless peeing green is the pass. Is it a pass-fail? I didn't know there would be questions. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. More of your grievances. 844-967-2789.
If I can take on 100,000 protesters, I can do the same across the world.
And that's when the whores come in.
Hi, my name is Shantae, your local Hyatt pharmacist. With more than 10 locations here in the Milwaukee area, we're here to simplify your lives one script at a time. With free delivery to your home or work, where all your medications are brought together in one convenient dosage packaged, individualized to your daily medication regimen. We set up in-house calls with the licensed pharmacist to assist in medication management. We accept all insurance plans. To learn more about Hyatt, visit us at our website, HAYATRX.com.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
Former Trump aide sentenced, Obama on the party of Lincoln. I'm Barbara Cusack. One-time Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos was sentenced to 2 weeks in prison for lying to the FBI about his contact with individuals tied to Russia during the 2016 campaign. Papadopoulos' attorney, Thomas Breen, believes the sentence sends a message.
I think it is really stupid to lie to the FBI, especially when you don't need to speak to them. So I think most people who would read about this sentence would begin to educate themselves that they don't want to do 14 days because they lied to the FBI.
Former President Obama delivered one of his harshest rebukes of the Trump presidency in a speech at the University of Illinois as he's out to rally the vote ahead of midterm elections.
I don't mean to pretend I'm channeling Abraham Lincoln now, but that's not what he had in mind, I think, when he helped form the Republican Party. It's not conservative. It sure isn't normal. It's radical.
Former Nixon White House counsel John Dean had a warning on the final day of Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court confirmation hearings. Dean said confirming Kavanaugh will lead to the most presidential powers-friendly Supreme Court in the modern age. President Trump said the U.S. plans to move forward with tariffs on $200 billion in Chinese goods. And he told reporters he is ready to expand his trade war even further if China retaliates.
There's another $267 billion ready to go on short notice if I want.
A stretch of a major highway near the California-Oregon border, Interstate 5, will remain closed through the weekend as crews try to tame a roaring wildfire burning on both sides of the north-south route. The Delta Fire has already charred 24,000 acres. I'm Barbara Cusack.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Obamacare premiums may be leveling off.
An analysis by the Associated Press suggests that after 2 years of sharp increases, the market opened by the Affordable Care Act appears to be stabilizing. And analysts say it may be because insurers who stuck with the ACA have gotten to know the health needs of their mostly low-income customers and learned to price plans accordingly. The breakdown finds that most people in 11 states will see a drop in their premiums next year. The average elsewhere comes to an increase of about 3.6%. I'm Jan Johnson.
The WNBA Finals begin tonight in Seattle. It's the first trip to the finals for the Washington Mystics and the third for the Seattle Storm. Heidi Klum and Tim Gunn are leaving Project Runway. Amazon Prime Video announced the supermodel and fashion consultant are helping to develop a new reality fashion series that will combine content with commerce. I'm Barbara Cusack.
On marijuana, unfortunately, as a public health issue and a public safety issue, I've opposed that.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, how can medical marijuana help those addicted to opioids?
There's three big things. There's clear consensus now that cannabis can treat pain. That is not an opinion. That is a consensus conclusion by big scientific bodies like the National Academy of Science. We also know that it can help treat the withdrawal symptoms of opioids. People, they don't want to be on it anymore. They want to quit, but they develop the terrible withdrawal symptoms. And now we have evidence that it can actually help heal the part of the brain that is diseased in someone who's an opioid addict. If you had to start from scratch and design a substance to help lead us out of the opioid epidemic, like in a lab, it would probably look very much like cannabis.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212. Tell him good people do smoke marijuana. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gosted. Scott Walker and Rebecca Kleefisch took to Twitter yesterday to attack Mandela Barnes and Tony Evers. Walker criticized Barnes for a tweet he sent back in January in response to an article about the president not knowing the words of the national anthem, in which Barnes said, "Take a knee." Kleefisch said she was told that Barnes kneels during the national anthem, to which Barnes replied, "Now you're just lying." The Brewers had the day off yesterday. They start a 3-game series with the Giants tonight at Miller Park, and the Packers will play the Bears this Sunday night at Lambeau Field. Friday, partly sunny, highs in the upper 60s in Milwaukee, around 70 in Madison. Tonight, mostly cloudy, lows in the mid-50s. Saturday, partly sunny, highs near 70. Sunday, mostly sunny, highs in the upper 60s. For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Keith Gosted.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the 5 o'clock happy hour. More of your grievances at 844-967-2789. A fine guest will join us on Brady. Tom Palzewicz. He is a congressional candidate, a Democrat running in the 5th CD, running to be Jim Sensenbrenner. I hope he does.
Yes, time for Jim to go.
40 years and counting, Mrs. Sensenbrenner.
That's a lot of service.
Dom, there is some new polling out in the state of Wisconsin. It does affect the gubernatorial race. Jesse Apoyan, our friend from the Cap Times, writes, the Wisconsin gubernatorial race remains close, with a new poll showing Democrat Tony Evers leading, I tell you, Republican Governor Scott Walker by 4 percentage points. The poll, conducted by the liberal firm Public Policy Polling, was commissioned by a High Ground Action Fund, a Milwaukee-based group that supports liberal and Democratic candidates and causes. What about Resistance Radio, guys? Evers' campaign has also commissioned polls from PPP according to its July 18th finance report, which listed 2 payments to the firm in January and May. The results of the survey align closely with the PPP poll released last month, which shows Evers leading by 5 points. The race has stayed remarkably stable from our perspective, said PPP polling analyst Jim Williams. Surveyed 726 Wisconsin voters conducted September 4th through 5th. 49% said they would vote for Evers. 45% said they would vote for Walker. 6% were undecided. The margin of error is Dominic.
What was the margin of error?
4%.
Okay, so it's right there. I mean, this is going to be a tight race. No matter what happens between now and the election, it's just going to be tight. That's just the way it's going to go.
Independent voters were most represented in the poll results. 36% of respondents identified as such. Again, that's independents.
No one wants to say they're Republican.
Compared to 33% identified as Democrats and 31% identified as Republicans.
Undersampled Republicans.
844-967-2789. We'll go to the phones. Joe from West Dallas, welcome, sir.
Thank you, guys. I have some questions for those listening at home. Did Tony Evers approve or sign off on the $1.3 billion stolen or swiped away from the education department in the state?
No, Joe, I don't believe he did.
Did Tony Evers sign off on the taking of $250 million from the UW system?
Not that I'm aware of, although he is the only non-Walker appointee on the Board of Regents. I thought he voted against, but no, not that I'm aware, Joe.
Okay. So then my question is, why isn't the Democratic Party voting or focusing on the fact that since the bald spot has been our governor, there have been communities across the state, dozens of them, that have voted to add more money in referendum for their school districts?
Yeah, I'm not clear. I mean, like 60% of Wisconsin voters, something of that effect, thought that more funding should go to the schools. A much smaller minority would rather see property taxes cut. Of course, that's been Walker's plan for years and years, but newest Marquette University Law School polling, Joe, says the Wisconsin electorate is sick and tired of not funding the schools. We all agree, apparently, or large majorities of Wisconsinites agree, it's time to fund the schools properly. You know, that's why Scott Walker is the education governor, Joe.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Well, I'm going to go have a cold one. Have a good weekend, guys.
All right, thank you, Joe. Appreciate your call. Crudy, didn't the Republicans, because of all these referendums, did they make an effort to thwart how many referendums could be done and what sort of time frame?
Schools could not run referendums out to try and increase the funding to make up for the lack of state aid taken away by Republicans.
Which is totally opposite of what they said when they passed Act 10 and these budgets, because they could always say, well, they can go to the referendum and raise taxes if they need to locally. This is putting the power in the hands of the locals.
We gave them the tools.
And then they took the tools away?
I always thought Scott Walker was the tool.
He is a tool. Curdy, another issue for this campaign, our now pal, Wisco Paul, the roads. I mean, this. I know we rip on it, and I do agree. I mean, if you can't do the roads, you can't govern. This is one of the most basic tenets of governance. It's a simple infrastructure. Many, many people have cars, and if you don't have cars, you use mass transit if it's around you.
Unless you gave back $800, $900 million in high-speed rail money, of course, triggered a lawsuit with the Talgo Corporation, pissed away 10,000 jobs, and that's just one of the many instances of Scott Walker's governance being indefensible. Really, I know the whole, Scott Walker ran on it, and apparently it was a winning issue electorally, politically, but in the whole scheme of things, what a god-awfully poor decision he makes.
And I think, and keep
over and over.
Keep that thought in mind. The specifically the money given back on the rails. When we hear Scott Walker again, this was from Tuesday, the Milwaukee Press Club Rotary Club of Milwaukee at Memorial Hall at the War Memorial Center, right up the street here in Milwaukee. Governor Scott Walker on the roads. Brian, I'm gonna need your help on this. Cut number 9. The damn orange barrels.
Right now, with filling the streets in the city of Milwaukee and any other community, I'd say the big thing to stress is we gave Milwaukee and every other municipality the largest increase in local road aids in 20 years in this budget. So the biggest thing right now is stress to city, municipal, and county leaders, use those funds to fix roads, to fix bridges, to be on top of that along the way. We've done that. We in the last decade, so it started under Governor Doyle, continued with me, from the Marquette interchange through the Zoo interchange, we've now spent almost $2 billion on that. And the biggest thing I heard, and the paper gave me a little pushback the other day, but we said we finished the core. The core was the part that goes from 70th to 124th, from Lincoln up to Watertown Plank of the Zoo interchange. That's done. It was open last week. All the off and on ramps were opened up along the way. The number one complaint I hear from people in this area, and the area where we raised our kids over in Wauwatosa, was, I'm tired of all the barrels in the Zoo interchange. I'm tired of figuring out which lane to go through, depending on what night I'm going through. Open it up and give me a break from all the barrels for a while. And so maybe you guys heard something else, but that's what I heard. And looking by some of the faces there, I think you probably heard or felt the same way.
I wish you weren't a liar.
Now, note Governor Walker is coming up with some new fill-in words along the way. He'll be saying that going forward. It's not just one of those things out there. Now he's added along the way.
replaced one vocal tick with another.
Let's keep going.
The filler words for the uneducated
I'm not
mind.
suggesting he's replacing. I think he's adding because, of course, that takes up, space. You can't fill it with substance. You just fill it with words along the way. You don't have things to say like one of those things out there, like Cut 10.
So we'll lay out in September some detailed things. We can do it. We believe we can do it without a massive gas tax increase. And I don't even know what's the difference. I actually challenged my opponent and said, because he keeps talking about it, I said, so what is it? Is it $1 a gallon? And he said, everything's on the table. And a couple hours later, his campaign manager said, well, no, they're lying about that. I said, well, then tell me what it is. What's the difference out there? We'll lay out our plan later this month about how we're going to continue to provide for the transportation needs of this state.
I've got a secret plan. We're going to lay it out later this month. We've had 8 years. We're 49th in the country in our road conditions, and you're now going to roll out a secret plan a month before the election?
Is it going to be better than the jobs plan? Because that one didn't work so well.
Which one? The 2-page one or the 6-page one?
The 2-page one.
Oh, okay.
Because the second time around, the 6-page one mostly talked about Mary Burke when she headed up Commerce.
Finally, Governor Scott Walker on the roads, Cut 11.
There are some groups out there that want to spend billions and billions and billions of dollars on more, bigger, wider interchanges across the state. I actually think we should do it fixing and maintaining our infrastructure. I don't know that we need bigger and better and broader right now.
We
have a changing transportation system.
Ooh, like rail?
My kids are a good example. They tend to ride Uber and Lyft more often than they ride their cars.
Those are still cars!
We've got hybrid vehicles increasing and electric vehicles.
They're still cars!
Increasing. Those don't, hybrid partially does. Electric doesn't get it all counted under the gas tax.
You're an idiot.
To me, I think as we look ahead, we need to re-examine the whole transportation goals that we have, because how we projected out 20 years ago, I don't think it's going to be the same. When I look at the traffic patterns, and granted it's anecdotal of my kids, but I don't think if you look at the research, my kids are not unlike most other millennials in terms of their dependence on a vehicle is far less than it was for our generation or generations before. I think we need to change that. But we will clearly lay out a plan about how we maintain the existing transportation infrastructure that we have, and where appropriate, where we make the advances that we need along the way.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Uber and Lyft, I thought Matt and Alex mostly stole the state van.
I mean, Governor Walker, Uber and Lyft are vehicles. Those are still cars, and they're still on the road. Whether or not your sons take the state vehicle, have their own vehicle, or pay for a taxi or someone else's vehicle, there's still cars on the road. What are you talking about? And we don't need to expand the roads, Crudy, or make them better. He literally said, or make them better right now. Not right now, because that would take money. And if I spent money, I'd either have to borrow more money or raise taxes. But don't worry. In September, and at the end of this month sometime, he's coming out with a new plan.
Yeah, I blame Tonette Walker
Why?
for this failure to have any sort of plan. Well, apparently Scott Walker thinks smaller and narrower is adequate. Where'd he get that from?
Jeez.
No, it's okay, Scott.
Yeah, it happens to everybody.
A lot of 50-year-old men are small and narrow.
Oh, not just in mind and vision, Michael. So roads are going to be an issue.
He's not the steel worker he once was. Let's just put it that way.
If Governor Walker, we have some more sound. We're not going to bore everybody with it. But if this is his response to the road crisis that we have here in the state of Wisconsin and the Scott holes, is that we got a plan coming out in September sometime, just wait. He's going to lose. I mean, I think this is something that should be highlighted for his total lack of effort and responsibility.
And virility.
You're a little horny today, man, huh? What's going on, man?
Oh, you're
right?
looking good. You got a pretty mouth.
Got a haircut today, can you tell?
Nothing about Scott Walker makes me horny in the least.
Are you sure?
I'm quite sure.
The power that doesn't, his ability to
the ultimate aphrodisiac
to raise that, to be a favorite of the Koch brothers. That wouldn't turn you on a little bit, man.
That day,
couple of duffel bags full of cash.
That day, he
wouldn't
was
get your blood running.
Filling 1.5 sandbags. He and the wife. See the big bald spot with the river run through it, sort of to the front part.
Did you see him missing the sandbag? It was a terrible effort from what I saw on the social media. Hey man, there's a guy outside with some beer. We should let him in.
Let that guy in right now. You better hurry up and call with their grievances. The beer man's here. 84. Wait, who's going to take us to break? Does that mean I got to keep talking?
Keep talking, baby.
At least there'll be beer. I can wet my whistle. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. It's Friday. We air grievances. Yours welcome here. Got Tom Palzewicz coming along soon. But your grievances, they air next at 844-967-2789. Now, I know it's speculative, Dom, but I mean, once you look like that, once, your hair, your part has become like a Moses in the Red Sea, the confidence wanes. I hope the Viagra covered by the state health plan or Devil's Advocates on the other side. Come back with us.
The biggest fear that I think a lot of our supporters have is the outside money.
I find it sexy.
You sit on a throne of lies, sinner.
The Packing House Restaurant, located at 900 East Layton Avenue, offers fine dining and casual supper club style. Family owned and operated for over 40 years, the Packing House features great steaks, prime rib, and the best fish fry around. Join us for live music on Wednesday through Saturday evenings. The Packing House Restaurant. Open for lunch, Monday through Friday, and dinner nightly. Call us at 414-483-5054 or visit us online at packinghousemke.com.
So, Jesse, why should someone buying a home pay for an agent when they can go online or call the number on a for sale sign?
Great questions. First of all, never call the number on a sign to see a home. That's the seller's agent, and they don't represent your interests. If they show you a home outside of an open house, you forfeit your ability to have someone negotiate in your corner at no cost to you.
Well, with interest rates still at historic lows, how can buyers still get a great deal and protect their rights?
Step 1, find a buyer's agent that you trust. Your agent will best find the home that fits your needs, anticipate problems, and negotiate on your behalf from offer through closing day. And most home listing contracts stipulate that the seller's agent pays for the buyer's commission.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, they're honest. Whether buying or selling in Madison or Dane County, call Solidarity Realty, 608-284-9311, or find them at solidarityrealty.com.
The Earl Ingram Show. Join me at a new time, weekday mornings, for the Earl Ingram Show, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on Real Resistance Radio, Monday through Friday. And as always, Saturdays noon to 3. The Earl Ingram Show, streaming live at realresistanceradio.com. Don't miss it. Voice of the voiceless, champion of the working class, the Earl Ingram Show.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
We are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on a fun Friday. You can join us on the lines at 844-967-2789. If you've got any grievances, air them here.
Slug bug.
I didn't see
it. It's right
it.
there. It's great.
I didn't see it.
Well, it's too bad. I saw it. I punched you. Don't you still do that? I do that with the boys still.
No, I don't slug bug.
We slug bug at my house.
Even now, still?
You better hope no roadway trucks come by. My brother and I used to just wail on each other when we saw a roadway truck.
Why? Why roadway?
I don't know.
Doesn't even rhyme with anything. Slug bug. Rhymes. Makes sense.
One time my brother and I rode on a Greyhound bus from, I believe it was from North Carolina to Georgia. And we had picked up every color of semi. Like, I get red, you get blue, I get orange, you get yellow. And we would punch each other on every truck on the highway. We got to a family reunion. I had welts.
Well, it's starting to explain some things.
A violent childhood.
I didn't know these things about you, Michael.
Many stories of sibling rivalry.
Yeah?
He was smarter and I was tougher. And better looking.
Oh, okay. Who was? You or him?
Well, he technically better looking as a young man, like as a kid, like as a teenager. And then I was better looking in my 20s.
As an old man.
But then my hairline receded back, and he's still got a full shock of hair, man.
Ah. You gotta watch out for those cabinets, Curdy, you and Walker.
Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers gotta hug.
Dom, since we're airing grievances, I gotta tell you, one thing I'm not agreeing about today, mostly because I don't own any Tesla stock.
Yeah?
What, a CEO smokes one joint on a podcast and the stock goes down 10%? The CFO quits? I'm like, 2 executives left the Tesla Corporation today, apparently in reaction, at least in part, to Elon Musk going on a Joe Rogan podcast
Tesla
and smoking a blunt.
Tesla's down only 6.3% today, Curdy. Came back a little bit.
Well, my grievance is I didn't buy it on the short.
So what's the issue here? Tesla smoked some weed and talked to interview? I mean, God, we could get away with that here. I'd do it right now.
Slugbug green.
Well, how is this a grievance, or the grievance is that you didn't go short? What's the issue?
I just think it's a strange story. I think the fact that this corporation punished for the legal action. I mean, it's legal. They were in California when they were recording the podcast. I saw it on video. He said, it's legal here, right? Yeah, it's legal. Just a little marijuana, a little tobacco. Smoked it. And the next thing you know, the stock price was down over 10% at one point today. And executives are leaving. I mean, we give you a raise around here. Promotion, perhaps.
Brian's happy.
Brian's celebrating. How do you think you got your job, Brian?
I think there's an executive smoking weed and drinking on a podcast is no reason to panic. Now, when you've had Tesla's,
I concur.
Elon Musk's actions here in the last couple of months, some could say have been a little erratic. When you have executives leaving and some of the stories that have come out about the environment, the corporate environment over at Tesla, I don't know. But still, man, it's still at what, $264 a share. It's still a fairly high price, certainly down 6%
but is it like
today.
$270 a share earlier today?
Well, Nike was down a few points after they came out with their new advertising campaign. At the end of the day, these emotional sells will work themselves out. If the fundamentals are there, the ratios and the profitability, those things don't lie. And if there's value to the company and to the products they're producing, Nike or Tesla, it'll even out.
Is it my understanding Nike as a corporation is valued at $76 billion? I think they'll be okay.
Nike has a market cap of $128 billion.
I think they'll be okay. What do you think?
I think they'll be all right.
Few boycotts, few burning Nikes. You got the swoosh on now, Dom?
No.
That would imply athletic wear. Why would I even ask you?
Dude, I am a total athlete. And I think, doesn't Nike own Converse now? I'm not clear.
They do. I'm wearing well, I'm not. I'm wearing sandals.
And
I'm shocked you're not wearing flip-flops.
It's a little chilly. Not chilly. It's a little cooler here today, Crudy. And what about Ford? Ford has come out last year. Now we're being reminded they support the protests in the NFL. I don't see all the yahoos burning their Fords.
Going to a high school football game tonight. I hope they don't kneel. Tom Palzewicz, a fine congressional candidate, joins us in studio. He brought beer. Come back with us.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots
your
in
local
hell.
single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy59s.com.
Looking for a job worth talking about? Teaching is creative, collaborative, and intellectually challenging. See why teachers have better work stories at teachdfw.org and learn more about becoming a teacher. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
The Resistance is live 7 days a week here on Real Resistance Radio. Tune in Saturdays for Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk with Dr. Tim Slecker, 11 a.m. to noon. Then it's the voice of the voiceless, champion of the working class. Earl Ingram's Saturday show is live from 12 to 3 p.m. From 3 to 4, it's State Rep Joe Costa Zamaripa hosting The Joe Costa Show, followed by The Dawn of the Resistance with Maggie Dawn, 4 to 6. Mandatory listening, always streaming at realresistanceradio.com. You are listening to 1510 AM WRRD Waukesha, Milwaukee, and 1580 AM WTTN Columbus, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Do you love public education? Do you want to support your schools? Then you should support the people who make them work. You should support teachers and their unions. Teachers' working conditions are students' learning conditions, and when the school bell rings, it is crucial that teachers do not check their rights at the door. The ability to organize and advocate around issues that improve the quality of a teacher's workplace will increase opportunities for students and make schools safer for everyone. Stand with teachers, stand with WEAC Region 7.
I'm afraid right now for the future of my children's generation and those to come.
In this age of mass school shootings, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker offers the same bold agenda of the National Rifle Association.
Make sure you remember in your thoughts and more importantly in your prayers.
While Walker offers platitudes, he blocks meaningful gun safety legislation.
It's really an honor to work with the NRA not only in my state but across the country. And I'm proud of my A+ ranking as a governor.
Walker weakened the gun laws in Wisconsin, and then he got $3.5 million worth of NRA support.
There have been men and women of courage who've been willing to stand up and think more about the future of their children and their grandchildren than they thought about their own futures.
Scott Walker, you are not one of them. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gosted. We may be past Labor Day, but there is still plenty to do this weekend in southeastern Wisconsin. Indian Summer Festival is at Meyer Festival Park today through Sunday. Tosa Fest is happening in Wauwatosa tonight and tomorrow. The Third Ward Art Festival takes place Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 5. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar will be discussing his life in a multimedia conversation called Becoming Kareem tonight at the Marcus Center for the Performing Arts. The Milwaukee County Zoo is hosting their annual Ride on the Wild Side Sunday to raise money for the Zoological Society of Milwaukee. And Dead Man's Carnival tonight at the Miramar Theater. And also this Saturday is the second annual Milwaukee Polka Ride being held under the Polish moon at Sabbatic. The free event features alternative polka acts from around the country and runs from 4 to midnight. For Real Resistance Radio, my name is Keith Gosted.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's a Friday. It's the happy hour. It got happier up in here. We got a fine guest. He's joined us. He brought beer. He's Tom Palzewicz. He is a Democrat running in the 5th Congressional District. Tom, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates.
Yeah, thanks for having me again.
Always a pleasure, Tom.
Saw you just Monday at the Labor Fest in Milwaukee. Tom, let's start by talking about that event. As a candidate for Congress, Tom, will you stand with the men and women of labor, unlike Jim Sensenbrenner?
Absolutely. It was a great event, and it was really good to see because I was talking to quite a few labor leaders, and they noticed that the attendance was definitely up over last year. And
despite the rain, it was quite wet out there.
Despite the rain, and I actually contributed to that because my younger son entered the Bricklayers Union this summer.
Oh, nice!
And he was marching in the parade, and just as a dad, pretty proud of that.
Well, that's one way to get him off the couch, Tom.
Exactly, and a great job. So he's really happy with what's been going on.
Bricklayers, that's Manual labor, that's hard work, Tom.
He's the kind of kid that loves to be outside, loves to do things, and he was a landscape for a while, built a lot of different walls and everything else, and it's really right up his alley.
He's going to have some big hands.
Yes, he is. He already has some big hands, and I think the interesting thing is he's about 10 years younger than anyone else in the Bricklayers Union right now. So it's good to see.
He's going to get up and running. He'll be able to work circles around those guys.
Absolutely. Yep.
Tom, it doesn't seem to me that Republicans stand with the men and women of labor. Obviously, Scott Walker in the state of Wisconsin has made, labor, the labor unions target number one, first through Act 10, then through right to work, then through prevailing wage. And I mean, this permeates all the way up to the federal level. Donald Trump earlier this month said, no effing raises for federal employees. Tom, this is such a slap in the face to the working stiff after the $1.5 trillion tax cuts for the very richest. Tom, Republicans hate the working men and women in America, don't you think?
Well, I'm not going to go that far to say they hate the working people, but here's the bottom line. Right now the Republicans have created what I call a fiscal crisis of our own making. We're going to borrow close to $1 trillion this year in federal debt. And it's only because of the tax cut and our inability to decide that we need the wealthy in this country to pay taxes. And now we're going to start balancing the budget on the backs of federal workers. Because here's Donald Trump. He's excited about the job numbers. You saw the job numbers this morning, a little over 200,000 jobs created. Unemployment rate still below 4%. But the problem is we don't have wage growth. And until we have wage growth, this economy is going to stay in that anywhere between that 1% to 2% growth rate. And the thing that I don't understand is every economist will tell you if you want the economy to grow, because 70% of GDP is driven by consumer spending, if you want the economy to grow, put more money in the consumer's hands. So here's Donald Trump saying, yeah, we're going to have a great economy, but we're not going to give raises. He's not going to have a great economy because we're not increasing wages enough. And that's where union membership comes in. I don't understand why more people don't join unions.
What about those 9 corporations in America that offered bonuses? Those guys got raises, right,
yes.
Tom?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the only people that got raises were the shareholders and the CEOs that benefited from the tax cut. And this is the biggest problem that we have right now is Republicans are selling us a bill of goods that says that, and we've done the math, we can create a job for a little less than $2,500 a year. And you look at Foxconn and you do the math. If we would take that $4.5 billion we're giving to Foxconn and spread it out across those 36,000 businesses, there'd be a lot more jobs created.
Tom, the Republicans have run for so long on the tenet of fiscal responsibility. Your opponent, Sensenbrenner, what have they said about this issue? I mean, they're going to give these tax cuts, and perhaps, a few workers will get them. But, of course, the majority of these money is going to corporations who are doing stock buybacks and, like Kimberly-Clark, financing shutdowns of their plants. And then they lean on the state of Wisconsin trying to get the Foxconn deal after getting a corporate tax cut, after getting the manufacturing egg tax cut here in the state of Wisconsin. And we wonder why we got to borrow all this money. Well, what is that on the federal level? Of course, $1.5 trillion. We're financing the tax cut essentially by, issuing new treasury bonds.
Well, let's start with Scott Walker. So Scott Walker, his only trick was to cut taxes.
And to create 250,000 jobs.
Which didn't happen. Even though he said the jobs would be created by cutting taxes. Well,
you just got to give him another term, Tom.
That did not happen, and it won't happen. So now what is he running on? He doesn't have a platform to run on, so he's running on an anti-Tony Evers platform, which isn't going to work. And we all know that. But the flip side at the federal level, so let's start with Jim Sensenbrenner. Jim Sensenbrenner has won award after award for being a fiscal hawk. Yet, explain to me how you can be a fiscal hawk and the debt went from $900 billion to $21 trillion in the time he's been in office. That doesn't make any sense to me. So, and he's on record as saying, great, we can cut that true. So the bigger problem is if I'm a politician that's saying no, not only do we not have to cut taxes, we have to increase taxes in order to pay for the things that we already have, and if we're actually going to pay off the debt and not leave it to our children and grandchildren, we all know that that's what needs to happen. I was thinking of veterans issues today because I think you saw Scott Walker chime in on the kneeling.
Mm-hmm. Stand up.
Yeah.
All caps.
And as a veteran, one of the things that bothers me is bringing veterans into an issue where veterans should be brought into an issue. This has nothing to do with veterans. This has everything to do with how the police operate when it comes to if you're not a person, if you are a person of color. And when I look at this, I say to myself, why are veterans being brought in? And more importantly, why aren't we funding the things that veterans really need? If we decide to go to war, the first thing that we should have to do is raise taxes.
No, go shopping, Tom. Go to the mall.
And borrow the money.
Because if
Take a HELOC.
If we're going to go to war, everyone should have to be able to sacrifice to make that happen.
Well, it'd be nice if we actually declared war if we were going to go to war.
Well, we are at war. We've been at war for a long time. So that's step number one. Step number two should be is if we are at war, we should pre-fund all the benefits that veterans are going to need when they come back. We shouldn't wait till they come back and then decide whether we're going to have enough money for those benefits.
You mean kind of like Republicans make the post office do?
Correct. Right.
I like that.
Folks, I'm sorry, Tom, don't mean to interrupt. You are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Got a fine guest in the Brady Street studio. If you were on it, you'd be upstairs. He's Tom Palzewicz. He's running for the 5th Congressional District, great state of Wisconsin, as a Democrat. Tom, I interrupted. Please continue.
And then the third point is let's work to not having any more veterans. Because at some point we have to decide as a society, why do we need to creating veterans in situations where maybe war is no longer needed? And I know that's a little bit of naive or Pollyannish, but I think we really need to start thinking about.
And can I have a uniform also, Tom?
Yes. Anybody can have a uniform, but the bottom...
I meant a unicorn, sir.
I'm sorry. But the bottom line is we're in this environment now where it's okay to create veterans. It's okay to spend money on cruise missiles. It's okay to continue to increase the defense budget. Yet if we look around, the differences between human beings across the planet have gone down dramatically.
Tom, I would say many of the veterans that I'm friends with, they're not for war.
No.
And I know there was one prominent Marine candidate in the state of Wisconsin running for Senate that, it turned him into a Republican. But so many of my friends that are veterans, and I also served, I don't want to say they came back as pacifist, but they kind of came back anti-war.
Yes.
They don't see the upside to going and spending our treasure, spending our children, our nation's resources to protect the oil pipelines in some foreign Middle Eastern country. But Tom, the Republicans get lots of mileage out of wrapping themselves in the flag. It's a false patriotism, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I think this is where veterans have to step up over and over again and say, we are not for this and we do not want to participate in this false patriotism.
Tom, where do you think this sort of cognitive dissidence happened in the United States? I remember early 2000s. And I was not for the war. I was right over with Russ Feingold. I was against the war. And all the guys I worked with, a bunch of righties I worked with at the time, they're all pushing. They're all a bunch of war hawks.
Sure.
And I looked around, I realized not a single one of those guys served their country. They're all quick to send somebody else's kid to war.
Correct.
Once upon a time, service to the country in the armed services was almost a prerequisite to politics. Tom, I know that you've served Navy man, if I recall.
Yes.
But why do you think it is that so many have moved away from service to country, but they're still quick to start a war?
Because it sounds great. And the NFL gets paid a lot of money to play the anthem before every single game and have the Air Force fly over the stadiums. And it's really just one big commercial for why people should join the armed forces. Now, I was a volunteer. I signed up. I joined. I wasn't drafted. But the reason I went in it is because I thought, okay, I'm going to be able to better myself. I'm going to be able to see things around the world because I was in the Navy and I spent 4 years on a nuclear submarine. But more importantly, I wanted to learn more about myself and learn how I could become a servant leader. And I don't know about you, Mike, but when I came out...
That played no part in my service, sir.
But when I came out, I really understood what it meant to serve for others and not just serve for myself. But back to the idea that, the people that aren't veterans are quick to want to use the idea of war. I think we need to get to the point, if we're going to go to war, there needs to be a vote. Everybody's taxes need to go up so that everybody has to pay the cost of the war. And there should be a shared sacrifice, and it should be a limited time, and there should be an end point to when we actually have a war.
Yeah, the vote, certainly. We haven't had a vote for war since, the Iraq War, but we've certainly been around bombing, and we certainly had proxy wars. Of course, we've been doing that since our existence. The the nonchalance that we have in this country towards putting people in harm's way. And is it necessary? You know, is it necessary for the defense of the United States of America to make sure that some pipeline gets built in the Middle East?
Well, this is where Eisenhower warned about the military-industrial complex. And right now it's probably one of the biggest jobs program in the U.S. And last time I checked, I think worldwide arms sales were well close to $400 billion annually. And if you think about that, that means that countries are buying all the sophisticated arms and equipment that they want to, and all we're doing is laying the groundwork for these companies to want to produce more. I mean, if you produce a cruise missile, your whole point is we got to use the cruise missile so we can make another cruise missile. And so we're now at the point where we're finding places to use the things that are being produced. And this is why having for-profit companies involved in the defense industry, at least to me, is something we need to look at.
Now, Tom, you will have a daunting task to beat Jim Sensenbrenner. He's obviously won many elections by large margins. He's coming from one of the reddest parts of the state. Tom, do you think your military service served you in any way? I mean, I don't recall no being an answer in the military. It was sir, yes, drill sergeant. But no was never really a plausible answer to any of the questions they asked me, Tom. When no is not an option, doesn't that make, plowing forward, marching forward, sir, doesn't that make life a little easier, the vision?
Well, it is part of perseverance and persistence. Obviously, when I took on this idea of running in this district, I knew what we were up against. Sensenbrenner is consistently probably around 70% of the vote. So the vote generally has been 70%, Sensenbrenner 30%, whoever. And when we started doing this, one of the things we decided was we were going to build an infrastructure so that whoever does this next, be it me or somebody else, is going to have a way and a base to be able to build on, because gerrymandering is going to end at some point. And it's going to be really important that we have good data for the Democrats in Waukesha County, Washington County, Jefferson County, Dodge County. But more importantly, what we've seen at least over the last 6 months, there's a website, 538. I'm sure you guys know about 538. Right now, it pegs our race at 59-41.
Wow.
Which is a huge improvement.
You're in the lead by 18, Tom?
Well, that would be nice. But the bottom line is we think we can actually get this race to somewhere between 55-45. And if we can get it down to that level, we think we're going to be able to pull in some additional resources that normally wouldn't look at a race like this. Because we're talking about an incumbent who's been in office for 40 years. And he is completely out of touch with what's happening today.
Tom, how can you close the last 10 points? If you can get within the, let's call it the margin of error, if you can, get within 2 touchdowns, Tom, how do you take it all the way to a victory? I'd like to see you be the next congressman from Waukesha.
So 2 ways. One is, and it's already happening, is there are 11 assembly of the 15 assembly districts in the 5th CD, so state assembly districts, who have candidates who are out knocking on doors almost every day. So there's doors being knocked on. And then the other is every single statewide race knows how important Waukesha County is to their victory. And they're going to be working with us, and we're going to be working with them to make sure that happens. And we think by doing that, knocking on enough doors, and it's really about the women independents who are going to be able to turn this race into something that allows us to win.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates on Real Resistance Radio. We got Tom Palzewicz live in the studio here on Brady Street. We'll talk more, perhaps even mention Donald Trump. Apparently, he's an electoral issue of sorts. Tom, want to get your take on Trump, his presidency, and your candidacy, how he affects it. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. It's Friday. We air grievances. Got a fine guest. That's not a grievance. Tom Palzewicz, 5th Congressional Democrat, hopefully the next congressman from Waukesha.
Cadet Bone Spurs.
There's nobody bigger or better at the military than I am.
Whoever says that is a stupid idiot.
I will not be lectured about what our military needs by a 5 deferment draft dodger.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy but know you need to move? Hi, folks. This is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean, most are pet-friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009. Or visit cclmanagement.com today.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in the former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. Closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet-friendly, cash-only order-in classic corner tavern. Ignacio, what do you got for us today?
Hey, I quit paying attention for like maybe one day, and all hell breaks loose. That goes to show me I got that right. I just learned that today. I turned it on, and I'm listening, and you really just rocked my world today. I was just totally blown away.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
Totally blown away.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day, we've got a guest in studio, Tom Palzewicz. He's a Democratic candidate for Wisconsin's 5th Congressional District. Tom, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for bringing the beer. I want to ask you, what motivates you to run for this seat? And how are you going to coalesce people? I know you mentioned the independent women, but there has to be something besides vote against. We just saw an ad on CNN here. AFP has got an ad out, vote against Tony Evers. I don't think that works. You got to give people a reason to vote for you. Certainly you can identify the failings of your opponent, but what motivates you? What's your message? What's your inspiration?
Yeah, it really started with the election of November of 16. I ended up, I don't know how many discussions I had with people about, would you hold up Trump as an example of leadership? And most people said no, but they, for whatever reason, voted for him anyways. And it really got me to the point where I realized that we don't really have a vision of where we're going in this country. If we can elect a Donald Trump and say this is who we want as our leader, we've really gone a long way from the idea of what we're really about. And one of the things I said to myself is, we got to get back to understanding who we are as a country and really get coalesced on a true vision. And then we have to really take a step back and say, what's our plan to get there? Why is our plan not to make sure people have the right to health care? Why is our plan not to make sure people can have one job with a living wage? Why is our plan not to invest in education and infrastructure and make sure we're doing something about climate change? Because these are all the things that I care about. And when I'm out talking to people, everybody else cares about those things too. Now, here's the thing, though. When I talk about women and I talk about independent women and even women who lean Republican, those are the things they care about, too. They care about what kind of planet they're leaving their kids and their grandkids. And right now, we're looking at a situation where, at least to me, we're going down tremendously the wrong path. And this income inequality is being driven by, to me, it's not so much greed, it's a game. And we have people trying to win a game that hurts everyone else. And you've met people like this. I call them win-lose people. Not only do they need to win, they need to make sure you lose. So, if you've ever played a game against somebody and they don't really want it to be competitive, they want to crush you. And this is what we're faced with right now.
That's how I play the game, Tom.
This is what we're faced with a guy like Donald Trump. It's not just enough to win. He has to bully and manipulate and make sure people feel demeaned in the process. And that just isn't something that I think that we need to do. So what we're out there doing right now, and I think this is really important to understand, is people care about these things. People care about affordable health care. Because I can't tell you how many people I've met in the last 2-3 months who said, Tom, I'm at the point where I don't know if I can pay for insulin and eat.
Yes.
And what does that mean to us as a country? That we're willing to leave these people behind, and we're willing to basically say we don't really care about you anymore. And then to me, one of the biggest existential threats we have as a world, as a human race, is climate change. And here we are as a country, not only not doing anything about it, but not taking a leadership role. And that to me is unconscionable. And we have a guy like Jim Sensenbrenner who has been consistently quiet since Donald Trump has been elected. And here's a man who will not even speak up. I got to tell you, if I've been somewhere for 40 years, I would have think that I would earn the right to speak up and say something and at least provide some kind of political cover for people that maybe haven't been around for 40 years. But that's not Jim Sensenbrenner. Jim Sensenbrenner has decided that he's just going to ride out the job as long as he can. And that's why we need a change.
Tom, do you think it was the financial insecurity here in the state of Wisconsin? Do you think that's why we went red, why we collectively voted for Donald Trump?
Oh, I think it happened around the country. I mean, that financial insecurity, as soon as it happens to people, that last recession, I was just talking to a gentleman the other day about this, that last recession could have been tremendously worse than it was. People don't realize how close we were to having tremendous job losses and a whole bunch of people out of work. It could have been easily as bad as the Great Depression of the 1930s. We didn't have it. And not only did the Democrats not get credit for making sure it didn't happen, they're blamed for increasing the deficit. Yet every time a Republican gets in office, they increase the deficit while the economy's doing well. How does that make any sense at all? So, this idea, though, of where we're heading as a country and what's important to us, people care about all the same things. And more importantly, they just want the system to be fair. And right now, the system has become less and less fair for most people.
Tom, what about check and balance? Jim Sensenbrenner doesn't give me the impression he wants to be a check and balance on Donald Trump. As you mentioned, this midterm election to me is a referendum on the presidency and whether or not perhaps he should be impeached. Tom, what's your thought on that notion? If elected to Congress, is it effectively, I mean, it would be a hell of a victory party, I suspect, but if elected to Congress, are you sent there to be a check on the president?
I would say yes to that, but I also believe that we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We have some serious issues in this country that we have to get to solving. And while Donald Trump has gone off the deep end in my mind, I really think that somebody should be looking at the 25th Amendment and saying, is this the time to actually execute on it? It's not going to happen with the Republicans, at least holding the House. So we have to win the House to create that. But we also have to start working on these problems. If we make this all about what do we need to do about Donald Trump, we're going to lose another 2 years. And we don't have 2 years to lose in a lot of situations.
Folks, thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates today. I want to thank our fine guest, Tom Palzewicz, Democrat candidate for the 5th CD. Tom, quickly, give them the website so people can get involved in your campaign.
So tomforwi.com. That's tomforwi.com. We're doing an event next Wednesday night in Wauwatosa at Moe's Irish Pub with our soon-to-be sheriff, Ernell Lucas. Yeah. He's going to be there. So come on, check it out. Ernell's a great guy. He's been helping us along the way. So come and check us out.
Tom, you're the best kind of guest. You came bearing cold ones, and literally my first opportunity to use the time for a cold one can koozie. Tom Palzewicz, thanks for the cold one. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll do it again for you on Monday. Real Resistance Radio, thanks for listening.
What's been going on while I've been gone?
An anonymous.
How hard can that be? Saying that Nazis are bad.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
I'm Andy Buck, Field Representative with Painters and Allied Trades of Wisconsin. It's an issue that brings constant challenges for building contractors. How to find qualified painters, glazers, and drywall finishers. IUPAT knows what you want. A professional job performed by